So one of the great things about doing this live on YouTube is that we don't have to come on right on the hour. So hi, Murph.
Hey, how's it going, John?
Good. Welcome, and welcome to all the viewers out in YouTube land. I'm John, the host or co-host of the TSG Live Talking Trains show, which you are now watching. Thank you very much for tuning in or clicking on or whatever we call it these days.
I'm willing to bet this is a lot easier thing to do than you've been doing the last week, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to go out. So Murph's referring to, I was away for all of last week documenting the 4014. There's this little thing called the Union Pacific Big Boy. That's the largest operating steam locomotive probably in the world, maybe the largest locomotive in the world. I don't know. Certainly the largest operating one. And it came out to the West Coast this past week. As a matter of fact, I believe it arrived a week ago yesterday into California, and that's where I have a picture of it. Thanks, Murph. I wasn't expecting to do this, but I'll show the picture. There's the picture of this.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, this is the big boy leaving Portola last Thursday morning. And I have a video that's pretty amazing. This is just a still frame grab off of that video. But yeah, so we were out there documenting the event that, frankly, we've been talking about the event for the past month or two here on the Talking Train show with my friends Mike and Eugene, who are from the Western Pacific Railroad Museum. And that was the big event. A week ago today, they were open to the public and had probably close to 3,000 people show up at the the Western Pacific Railroad Museum there in Portola. And what was cool about it was the museum it's like a working rail yard in a way, except there's not a lot of traffic all the time. They run something called the Run a Locomotive. Since we're on this topic, I had no intention of doing this, Murph, but I'm gonna bring up a video that shows you the grounds of this. And our guest Tom is waiting in the wings. Tom, we'll get to you in just a minute because now I've suddenly had the urge to share something that I had no intention of sharing. But what's that?
No.
It's all your fault, though, Murph. Yeah, it's all your fault. So I'm going to find this video that shows you basically what this museum is, because I think I can describe it all day, but unless you see what it is, it may not be as clear. So let's just try this and see what happens. So this is an aerial view of the museum. And this is the former, I guess, Western Pacific, which then when Union Pacific took over the Western Pacific, they were just like, we're not going to use this place. And so instead of paying to clean it up, because it had been an engine shop for years or an engine facility for years, they're just like, why don't we just donate this to someone? That way it doesn't have to be cleaned up and we won't have to pay for that. So UP did something really smart. And in the process, this really great group of people got a chance to preserve the Western Pacific Railroad's heritage. Something really interesting. If you look on the far left, that's where the Union Pacific main line still goes through. And that's a military train. That was an eastbound military train that was parked there when we got there. So anyway, this is what I'm talking about. And that place that you're looking at, you can see how big it is. So there were 2,000 or 3,000 people there, and it was just like, it wasn't very crowded just because there's so much space for people to I guess, spread out there. So anyway, let me get rid of that. Nice. Sorry, I wasn't intending to do that at all, but there we go. Anyway, so I do want to talk about something briefly, though, that's happening this weekend, because we have yet another event that we're going to be covering this weekend. And that's something else that you've heard on this show over the past few months, which is the Tuolumne Railroad Weekend. And this might look familiar. So we're going to leave on Friday and go document the 90-minute steam excursion that they're going to do behind the Sierra number 3. That's a really well-known, maybe one of the most filmed or photographed locomotives in the world, big boy notwithstanding, because the Sierra number 3 has appeared in dozens or maybe even hundreds of movies and television shows. And anytime that Hollywood needed a railroad star, they went to the Sierra Railroad out in, well, I guess their main headquarters at the time, I think, was Oakdale, but they went there and went to Jamestown, and there's a lot of really nice Sierra foothill scenery that they used to run it on, and you could make it look like the Old West. So anyway, that's the engine that we're going to be running behind. And then on Saturday, there's the West Side Reunion, which is an ongoing annual event that's been happening for years. And it's combined, I think, really for the first time. Well, I want to say it's combined for the first time, but not really, because they've been doing this event with the Sierra Seminar, which is happening on Sunday. They've been doing both on the same weekend in the same place for years now, but it's really more of a cooperative effort now, more than it ever has been in the past. So that's happening. If you can go, it's going to be a really nice weekend up in the Sierra foothills. And you can check out this website, tuolumnerailroad.org. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be doing the registrations as walk-ups as well. So if you want to go, it's definitely something that I recommend. It's always a really good event. Both of those events, the West Side Reunion and the Sierra Seminar, are really good events. Something that we're doing a little bit different this year is there's actually going to be, there it is. There's actually going to be some presentations. Usually we don't record the presentations, but this year I was asked to record some of the presentations. So some of those presentations will end up as regular content here on the channel, so that the hosts of the shows respectively will be able to link to the programs on their websites.
That's great.
Yeah. So it should be a really nice time. We always see a lot of people that we know there, and sometimes it's the only time during the year that we get to see those people. So it's pretty cool it's almost like like a family reunion or something of people that you actually want to see. The in-laws won't be there. Anyway, so with that, let's bring on, we're not here to talk about all this stuff. We're here to talk to Thomas Gasior. So let me bring him on. There he is. Hello, Thomas. How are you doing?
Hey, Thomas.
Hello, John. Hello, Murph.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you. I think Sydney's in the background. Hi, Sydney.
Yeah, she's in the other room helping keep things on track, pun intended. And we're here to talk about the Splitrock Mining Company Railroad, which is your layout in the background there. And I'm really interested because I know that we've had you on before. I don't remember, to be honest, what we were talking about on the other show. I think we were talking about keeping things positive and stuff like that. And we did a follow-up to that. That was the three of us. So this is, I think, your third time. And it's the third time's going to be the charm, because this time we get to hear all about the layout and your thought process behind it. So I've been looking forward to this. I've always seen your name on the chat screens to the side there as Splitrock Mining Company. I always wondered what that is. Well, I know what it is now, but who calls himself Splitrock? Well, here he is. It's this guy.
Easier nickname. It's a lot easier nickname, I think, that people remember than my regular name. So,
yeah. So tell us about the Split, or maybe you want to give yourself a little introduction for people who don't know who you are. That might work.
Well, sure. Well, I want to make some comments too. The beautiful photo you had of the big boy, the first one, that looked like a model. yeah, that
Yeah.
I mean that could be someone's layout. They're like, oh, that's AI, but no, that's how good your videos are. I mean, that smoke, everything. That's a calendar photo right there.
That
It
is
could be.
perfect.
It could be.
That's a calendar shot, John. That's beautiful.
It's kind of ironic because this is just a still frame grab off of the drone video that I shot that morning. So
Yeah, no, that's perfectly framed, and the mountains and the colors, and like Sydney said, that paint scheme and the Abraham Lincoln. It's kind of fun to work for a company that's our public relations. Oh, we got this mascot. We got this guy in a suit. What do you got? Well, it's 400-ton steam engine.
It's funny too, because I've heard people refer to it as she, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, it's a big boy, so isn't it a he?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out because I think everybody names boats after women, but I work right next to the Mississippi River, and every tugboat is named after some guy. So I don't know. I can't figure it out, but
Bodie McBoatface.
That's probably it. Like I said today, and I'll what do you identify as? And I look, if I looked at the mac and cheese box, I'm identifying as a family of 4 when it says when I make that. So it's just kind of.
You mean you eat the whole block?
Then the other thing too is, so your Tuolumne really hits home. We have a fantastic model railroader here in the Twin Cities by the name of Ed Petrie, and he's modeled the entire Sierra Railroad, including the SP and Santa Fe interchanges, the Hetch Hetchy, the West Side, and the Angels. Is it Angels Camp? But West Side used to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually, you're thinking of the Angels Branch. That
Angels Branch,
the Sierra Railroad in Jamestown. The Angels Branch ran down to Angels Camp.
Angels Camp, that's what it was. Yeah. And so his model of Tuolumne, I saw they're having modeling contests. When I didn't have a layout and these guys in the Twin Cities would invite me over, I'd build things for him. I scratch built the Tuolumne Depot for him. They had plans in the Narrow Gauge Gazette, and I built a beautiful scratch built depot. And then he knew I could build track, because I'll talk about my layout. I did all my hand built switches. So the Sierra and the West Side had this crazy piece of track where the West Side had a Y narrow gauge, and the Sierra went right through the middle of it in a curve. And I built that in HO scale.
Yep. A friend of mine
thing I ever made. So I love that. I would love to go up to the Tuolumne, Model Fest. I think if anybody up there, the country's beautiful. And I figure someone from Minnesota or Wisconsin had to name that town, because it's hard to pronounce like all the ones here. So I don't know. California usually has saying something in it. So
yeah, no, I think Tuolumne is probably like a Native American heritage name. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, to be honest, but if I had to guess, because we also have something else called McCullumne, which is a river, which sounds kind of like Tuolumne, McCullumne. So but I don't know. I would be interested to find out, but I would expect that it's probably like a Native American thing.
Yeah, that's great that they have those train days up there to celebrate, the last great narrow gauges.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and the event is really cool because not only do we get to see a lot of people that we haven't seen for a year, but we also meet new people, and there's a lot of really good inspirational clinics and presentations, and people bring models to show. Like they're not selling. They have a room where they sell stuff too, and in that same room, people just bring stuff to share, which is really cool.
Right.
So,
but I think you could make contacts if you ever wanted to model it. You go there. There's a room full of other people. Hey, how'd you do this? And that's the great part about our hobby is sharing information, and the friends, going to see Murph, talking about what he's modeling and things like that is, I think those meets are some of the best times to go, to combine prototype and modeling.
Definitely.
So, all righty. You want to hear about the Splitrock? Everybody wants to hear about red dirt for an hour. I don't know.
I do.
Well, what I'm hoping, Tom? What I'm hoping is that it'll be a deep dive kind of like what we did with Mike Jordan's produce broker a few years ago, where he went off the deep end about modeling produce. And my impression is that you've kind of gone off the deep end about modeling mining. So
yeah, I have.
There's probably going to be plenty of inspiration for people to pick up some ideas of, what they can do, what's possible. So we should do this. Should I bring it up? Are you ready to show
sure. We'll go through that. And if anybody, like you said, have questions, John will pop up on screens, and
that's a great.
If we don't know the answer, Murph and I'll make something up. So
that's right.
That's a great reminder that people, you're allowed to ask questions in our live chat I guess it's on the right side of the screen. And so if you have a question that's relevant, right, or a comment that's relevant, I'll put that up and we'll have Tom address that at the time. And one other thing I want to mention, because I meant to do this, but I got sidetracked by the train earlier and the Portola video and all that. Today's my buddy Paul's birthday. So happy birthday, Tax Man. He's probably not watching, but I wanted to remember to say that to him. Let us bring up the presentation now, Tom, and you can get started in earnest.
Yes.
Here it comes.
There we go. I see that Heath wants to ask questions, so be a troll, Heath. We're used to that.
That's okay. Yeah, we're always used to that.
Trolls are welcome. I think that's one of the new NMRA AP certificates is internet.
What, troll? They made that one just for Heath.
They did. He's going to be the first one, the Master Troll Award. So
MMT.
Right, so the Splitrock Mining Company, the name comes from a lighthouse on the North Shore of Minnesota. My lovely bride, Diana, loves lighthouses. Minnesota's home to the Splitrock Lighthouse. It's a beautiful lighthouse, preserved. They turn the light on a couple times a year. November 10th for the Edmund Fitzgerald anniversary, and they live stream it, and everybody goes up there and cries. It's sad, but so that's where the name Splitrock came from. And I get asked a lot now that the cars are coming out from home shops. Splitrock Mining Company is not a railroad. It's a mining company. So the reporting marks are, SRMX. And I've had people ask why the X, because it's a mining company. And I'm basically modeling a 4-foot, 8.5-inch wide conveyor belt. What do you think? So there's no other industries on my layout other than the mining companies. There's no window factories, lumber hauling, anything. So it's just ore cars. And so how do you make a single commodity interesting? And like you talk about Mike Jordan, how do you make hauling perishables interesting, right? You're just hauling carrots to New York. How is that? So, we'll try and find a way. So we'll see if I can advance this. And okay, so here we go. Like I call it the Mighty Mini Ore Hauler, combining the best of Minnesota ore railroads, stuff that I grew up with watching, and rail fanning in northern Minnesota, the Mesabi, the Great Northern, turned into the BN, Erie mining and reserve mining. And so that's what we're going to do, and I'll show you how we did that. So I'll go over the concept and design and the lessons I learned from other layouts. And like most model railroaders, every lesson I learned was the hard way. So we're going to talk about operations and deep dive. And my layout is basically a play in 3 acts. And we'll talk what are the pins for and how I follow prototype practice. And then the latest, how I added interchange ore and rock ore. And you'll wonder what that is. And we'll explain all that. And then I'll show you my equipment and rolling stock, motive power, the cabooses, the freight cars, actually, and the ore cars. I think Heath has one of my freight cars. I make freight cars for friends on other layouts and things like that. And I'll discuss some of my scenery. Everybody seems to like what I do scenery. And I'll tell you how I do that. And if you steal my ideas, you've stolen twice. Because I try and take the best ideas from other people and create them to what I'm trying to do, to make realistic vignettes. And I'm now getting to the 4th dimension of sound and lights, and I'll show some examples of that, hopefully. And then we'll get to the fun part of social media and having fun, and how Splitrock has been used in advertising, and the feedback I get from other people. And John, you know, and Murph knows, it's great to get feedback. And here's an example. We'll talk later about Athern using some of my work to promote their Prime for Grime contest.
Nice.
So conception design, I had a new space. I moved to the city's railroad, met a beautiful woman and got married. It was at that time usual. The kids moved out. We had a whole house. We still do. There's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths for 2 of us to round around it. But these were some of the things. So I took over, we remodeled, I took over the former 1-car garage. And I learned I didn't really want a great big layout, because I learned about maintenance and cost and time and money. My skills, that's, you know, I did a self-evaluation of what I could build and what I could maintain. And so I decided on a specific railroad, or a specific commodity, dedicated to just iron ore, not taconite, and then focus on that. And I figured that's what I could get done based on the career I had. And so I looked at the Mesabi and the Great Northern, which were too big to model, you know, to appropriately put it in there. Like Murph and I were talking earlier, he models the Union Pacific, but he models a select little branch line. You don't have to model the Truckee, California out to, you know, east and things like that. So the NP and the Sioux line also were in Minnesota, but they had too little. And reserve mining and Erie mining were very eclectic, but there would be no operations because they had taconite. And taconite, you haul it to the dock and dump it and back to the mine. There wasn't. So I made this alternative ore hauling. And this is the lore, the really boring backstory. I don't have any eccentric billionaires. I don't have any moguls. I don't have any robber barons. The Splitrock Mining Company did not exist prior to 1955. And so the actual history, the deep dive, was in the 50s and 60s. After World War II in Korea, all the soft iron ore in the mines was played out. It was gone. So they had to come up with a way to keep all those jobs. And how they did it was they created taconite, and how they allowed them to do it was change boring the tax structure. Who creates a layout after a tax structure? Well, I guess I'm boring enough. So, so the taconite sprung up everywhere on what we call the Mesabi Range. I'll post a map here. And so I modeled the Vermilion Range, which is up near the Canadian border, which the mines were underground, which helped me serve 2 purposes. One, I didn't have to model the huge, vast pits. And 2, I didn't have to model the huge concentration plants where they made taconite. So the story, and this is what I tell everybody, if you're going to model a proto-freelance, a freelance proto, you know, anything, keep your story short. The shorter, the better, right? So all costs are in the mining versus the production of taconite. No open pit, no waste, no trucks, shovels, no huge refinery, higher grade ore. The iron ore they dig out of the ground in northern Minnesota in the Vermilion Range is of a much higher grade, but basically there's more iron ore per pound of rock. And in fact, the ore is so, the rock they pull out of the Vermilion Range is so high in ore content, you can weld 2 pieces of it together. And so 1955, I didn't have to have outdated infrastructure, didn't have to have steam. I had a dedicated rail route like Erie and Reserve, and no one lives there, so you didn't have to fight through cities and planning and all this. You just had to move a few moose and bears out of the way and a couple of wolves or something. So they created this. So this is northern Minnesota. You can see Lake Superior and the town of Duluth, and these are the iron ranges. The Cuyuna Range is where the Northern Pacific and the Sioux line lived. The Mesabi Range is the Great Northern and the Duluth Mesabi Iron Range. The Vermilion Range was the Duluth Mesabi North, and then the Gunflint Range was very sparingly used in the early years. And so then this would be a basic map of where the Splitrock is. We go from Tower in Sudan and Ely, Minnesota, straight down to Two Harbors. And I call it Agate Bay. If you look at a map of Two Harbors, the bay in Lake Superior where the docks is called Agate Bay, so it's the same town. So are we getting any questions? I got to pop up my screen here.
We did have a question. Keith was asking about how you chose the color. Do you see it for your trains and why you chose that color?
Oh, the color orange, yes. The orange is a joke going on because I'll get to later, the Splitrock has now gained enough popularity to have models created by home shops. And the first engines coming out of the RS-23s by Rapido, and they list them on their website as orange and gray instead of my lovely yellow. But I picked the colors because every mining railroad in Minnesota is maroon or maroon and yellow. And so I just went with all yellow in the big numbers. And I'll show you examples of exact prototypes later on that I took the lettering and everything from. So like I said, you steal from me, you've stolen twice. And the yellow just made a nice industrial grunge look. It's very fun to weather. It's terrible to paint. I called my first engines what color yellow? I called it 30 coats yellow. I don't know. I don't know who models the Sioux line to paint an engine white, but my next layout will be the Norfolk Southern. So it's easier to paint everything black. So
yeah, black model.
What the yellow was basically, those are the colors of all the iron mining companies up here. So Sparky's question was better. What did Sparky ask you?
I don't know. I missed it. I did not see him.
Sparky, ask it again, please, and we'll do that. We'll go to
when it comes up. We'll put it back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is an actual what my layout looks like. This was drawn by William Sampson. As you can see, the layout doesn't fill the entire room it's in, which turned out to be a really good decision and a really odd one, according to 99% of model railroaders. They're like, you have more space. You could have added this. And based on my job at the time as an over-the-road engineer, being on call 24/7, I had to build a little layout for me. I thought I'll make it smaller, more intense. It is 2 levels, and it's connected by a long climbing loop. It's not a helix. I have to defend that. So how does he stay so? Oh, okay, yeah, 31. No, I'm a good 40. So thanks, Sparky. I owe you something for Christmas. But I did manage to incorporate in this layout the ore dock. It's 2 Walters ore docks, 2 tracks, a good sorting yard, a main line, and then the upper level has received 2 or 3 modifications after operating for a couple of years. I changed things around, and I think that's what a lot of people don't do, is they'll operate and realize something's wrong, but then they'll never change. And I'm like, rip the Band-Aid off and go change it.
Yeah.
And if I could change anything today, it would be ergonomics, because I designed my layout for me to operate. And now I like to have people over, very social. I want to invite you and Murph, Sydney to come run trains. You guys get to go operate everywhere. It kind of ends up, it's like a kitchen at a party. Everybody ends up standing in the same place. But I've heard that happens at other railroads too, at like the yard. Have you found that, John? You go to all these layouts, it's like the main yard, there's 10 people and then the aisles are empty. Is that
that happens quite often at Dave Lovelace's layout. We operate in Watsonville, and that happens fairly frequently, where, and I sometimes I suspect that he does it on purpose. Like there's some glitch in the operating scheme that makes 5 trains come through this one area at the end, usually at the end of the session. And it's funny because something inevitably goes wrong. And Dave will, if I'm not there already, Dave will come get me and he'll say, "Oh, you got to come over. Charlie derailed. You got to see this and make a video of it for your podcast." See, Murph's laughing because he knows that has a ring of truth to it.
How wide is that aisle in the upper part, the upper portion of the diagram?
Well, the room here, the room's only 11.6 wide.
Okay.
It's a one car tuck under garage that we walled off because we built a whole separate garage. And
so it looks like that's what, 5 or 6 feet at least, right? In the aisle?
I mean, the layout's probably, 10 feet. So yeah, the top between the ore boat and, the other things on the left, that's a good space.
That actually really looks good. My major comment about yards is usually they're on one side of an aisle, and often the aisle isn't wide enough, especially for some yard guys. And you end up trying to uncouple cars while everybody's walking by and bumping your elbows just as you're trying to, and it's just going crazy. So I like, if you're going to have a yard on an aisle, make sure the aisle's wide enough for big freight to come through.
Hey, Murph, we bump your your elbows on purpose.
I think you do. There are some where I'm like, one more time, there's going to be an issue.
Tom,
Murph's a hockey player, elbows up. He's from Michigan, North Dakota. He knows. He's a skater. You're a skater, Murph. You know elbows up. Come on now.
You're getting another question there. Sierra Valley and Sierra Valley and Harbor Junction is wondering about scales there.
That's Steve. He's a friend. If you ever check his layout, he's in Michigan there. Murph, he's another Michigan guy. Cool. TikToker, beautiful layout. The other scales, I get interested in them because I go to the layouts. I have a real good friend, Ken Zeska, has a wonderful S scale layout. And I try not to go over there too much because it's tempting. As I get older and my eyes get worse, I like the bigger S scale trains. I'm sure John and Murph, you guys have operated on O scale layouts. That's one thing we don't have here is O scale layouts. But yeah, I'm interested in them. I don't think I'd go to N unless it's a modular, that I can just partake in a group.
Actually, Thomas, one of our friends has a G scale outdoor layout that I just love operating on.
Wow.
What?
See, that's kind of cool. If I had an outdoor layout, if I was operational, I'd get it. Or if it brought me pretzels or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, he didn't do a roundy round thing. He actually did one really designed for ops. And it's just fun with a walk around throttle and basically batteries on board. What do they call that?
Dead rail.
Dead rail. Yeah. And it's quite a thing. It's great.
There's actually
got to be close to realistic as you can get. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if people are interested, but there's actually a video about that layout. It's a layout tour, and it's called the Mystic Mountain. If anybody's interested in watching that later. So if I think of it, I'll put a link to it in our description here so people can just link to it.
Yeah, the amazing thing is switching operations when you have a 20-foot long train and you actually have to walk the train, it take a bit longer. So it's kind of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Does he have to use pushers? Does it go bail? Because I can imagine those trains would get heavy. I'd be kind of wild in G scale.
I don't think we've ever had to have a helper going up. He's got a helix at one point going up, and other than that, he had a wide expanse going across his backyard. He had to shorten it this last year because the retaining wall started to fail.
Oh no!
But it's still.
Have
you
ever seen a garden scale helix before? It's quite impressive.
That would be insane. That's I think California. You've got us over, us up here in Minnesota. If we had garden railways, we'd have rotary snowplows that worked. But
I have seen models of that. Cool. But after going over there,
they can scale down the dead rail batteries pretty soon.
It's the only time my wife ever said no to a hobby thing. I think I should make one of no, you won't.
Yeah, I have that rule with my wife that the trains are below ground level. That's the only place I'm like upstairs. Oh, Sydney posted a wonderful link there. Thank you. Yeah, we'll check that. I got to see a G scale helix. So, but the layout, the space works out well. There's probably a few things I would change now. But I've got other things to do. I'll show you later. I've just got through a big lighting project, and I'm working on my diesel facilities, and I'm writing articles. So I don't really want to tear up the portions that need the most fixing. But it runs really reliable. All the switches I built by hand. All the track is, I think, Pico, mostly Code 83 Flex track.
Did you do fixtures for your hand-built turnouts, or did you just do them totally on diagrams?
I started with fixtures, and then after about 50, I just started laying them out to get what I wanted. You know, a lot of times I would take a piece of flex track and put it where I want it and take a pencil and etch the top of the rail and then move the flex track to where I wanted the diverging rail to go and do that with a pencil. And I just take that to the workbench and make it.
Right. Okay.
And, I've now gotten so crazy. Maybe we'll get later if we got time. I'll show you that I don't know if you guys know what lap switches are, but some of these yards where the switches are within. I just built a yard ladder with 7 or 8 lap switches for a potential extension, and that was insane. So, but yeah, I pretty much hand built a lot of these. You'll see curved switches to fit the location. And it's a wonderful skill I learned while trying to earn the NMRA certificates. You know, part of the reason the NMRA is very helpful. I have a lot of people teach me this. So available space, my best decision was not to use it all. We built an addition on the house, so I used a tuck under garage. I said double deck it, and I designed it for one operator. And then my big thing was no duck unders. Like I said, you know, friends don't let friends build a helix, and friends don't let friends build duck unders. So,
and friends really don't let friends build crawl unders.
No,
those are the worst.
I don't know. Maybe that's for like 20-year-olds or something. That's not me. I see that, and I'll work the yard over here. So, all right. So, like I said, my work schedule had me design a layout for the single operator. I was working on the road pool. I'm on call 24/7. I didn't have a set schedule, so I couldn't say, hey, every third Wednesday we're going to operate the Splitrock, or every other Saturday. I never knew when I was home. You know, if I knew I had a couple of days off, I'd call guys over. So I pretty much designed the layout just for me and to test out some theories and scenery and operations and things like that. And there's me up there dragging the freight around.
That's great.
All right, so now it's time to move some iron ore, and we'll do a deep dive into the red dirt. And you can see in the upper right there the pellets, the pine tree. Pine tree is a tradition. The first load out of any mine gets a pine tree in it, and the last load out of any mine gets a broom stuck in it. I'll show you some of that. I'm making some. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm making some scenes like that for articles on first loads and things like that. And you'll see like this Erie Mining 100 million ton. I've got some specially painted cars because they did paint these cars. And I'll show you how I did that. All right, so I like to have some fun. And you always see like my wife saying, your friends came over to play with their trains. And to me, no, it's an operating session. So that's kind of how I use the memes here.
Yep.
And then, so operations, the reasons for sorting cars in red dirt, and what are those balls on top of the ore loads? And so they had this meme on TikTok about, you know, everybody's got highly detailed way bills. There's me. There we go. Now we got our copyright restriction. But yeah, that was me. So I get this question a lot, right? What are the round things on top of the loads, right? What's with the yellow pins? Well, why does each car have a thimble in it, right? What are the beads? What are the ball? What's the blah, blah, blah? I got this, you know, what are the pins for? So here we go. This was started by the OG of ore operations, a guy named John Toombs. He used to actually run Train Fest in Milwaukee. He passed away, wonderful guy. But he started these thumbtack method, maybe John Allen. And the pins denote the ore grade. And I learned this also from Mike Sophie, a local iron ore modeler. He used flags. And I tested this on a previous layout where I modeled a Canadian National in Thunder Bay. And it's a really, really simple process for car forwarding. And so what are the pins for? So the pins denote the various grades of ore. In the deep dive, and I was like, well, why do they care? Iron ore is iron ore, right? Ferrous oxide is ferrous oxide. So I learned that the mills, I talked to a guy who worked at a taconite plant, and he said the mills want 65% ore or better. So the ore cars are switched to have the boats contain the right mixture. I have 5 colors: white, orange, green, yellow, and black. And then also we'll talk about the dots in a bit. So pre-taconite days, the ore would come in and be sampled. And I'll show you some photos and a video of what they actually sampled the ore. Once they loaded it in a car, went to the assayer's office, I believe that's what it's called. They'd test it and then send the results down to the dock. And then the guys would switch out the cars to make what I call the cake mix in the boat.
Right.
You know, because that once it's all mixed in the boat, you can't undo it. So they would switch cars. They'd see the boats coming, you know, Edmund Fitzgerald is coming, the Ohio and this coming, and they'd say, okay, we're going to position it, these chutes on the dock for here for this boat. And so that's what the pins are for. And I asked the guy at the taconite plant, do they still do that? And they still make taconite pellets that are 65% ore. Because they originally tried, they said, well, why don't we make it 90 whatever percent? Because you have to mix it with clay. They mix it with bentonite clay from South Dakota to make a pellet. They roll it in a big kiln. And he said they tried a batch of like 90% iron ore pellets, and they basically made ball bearings. So they couldn't ship them because they'd fall out and everybody's slipping all over. I'm like, oh, okay. So they still do. Can you imagine that? You know, because the pellets fall everywhere, but they made like these shiny ball bearings because they're almost all steel.
It'd be like a Three Stooges movie.
It would be. The Three Stooges would have ball bearings in there. So each boat has specific demands. There's my deep dive into the shipping. And I have right now 6 different boats in current rotation. There's the Edmund Fitz. I have a model of the Edmund Fitz because it still exists in my world. I'm 1969. I forgot to mention that. That's July, hot summer of 1969. So the Fitz has got 5 or 6 years left. And here's where the operation comes in. So Murph would come over. I'd tell him, okay, you're going to run the yard. Your first shove down here, we're going to load the Mat Dosa, and you need to get 10 yellow rock types, and you're going to put them on track ones, and there's the pockets. And then each shove, he could switch the cars to match each shove out to the dock. So that, what you're looking at is the only paperwork on my entire layout for operations. Because the other jobs just haul the loads down, empties up, and they go to the mine and swap empties for loads. You don't need paperwork for that. So the only guy with paperwork is the guy running the yard.
Who's making the trains. And
making up the trains. And when I hosted ProRail here earlier in the year, I had Seth Newman was at my layout, and Jim Providenza, and Paul Duke, and they ran this yard, and I'll show you later. My yard, like Murph, we were talking about on coupling and elbows. My entire layout is magnets. You don't touch any of the trains, and they work really well because I've done a couple adaptive things I'll show you. And they said to me, they looked at me after about 30 minutes, they go, you're going to have to pry this throttle out of my hand. They were having so much fun in that yard because they were just going back and forth, and they just had the look of the colored pins on top.
Right.
They were pulling out way bills and way cars and switching lists and, you know,
nobody down at track level squinting at numbers on cars.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was the joke that they said after operating my layout. You can see my cars up there, right? So my cars have like the largest numbers on them, and they say, you have the largest numbers for us to read, and you don't even use them.
True. True.
I thought, well, yeah, that's kind of true. I suppose I didn't really need to do that, but I
do like that.
Yeah, I like the industrial grunge of those numbers. So I'm like, I'll just put big numbers on the side and ACI label on there. But yeah, so this would be, and each boat gets 8 shoves, 10 cars each, so 80 cars make up a boat. And
quick question.
Yeah.
So are these representing empties?
The cars up there?
Yeah.
The cars you see are empty. What you see is the weight
Right.
that I've glued in the bottom, because
And,
all my
and
ore
you can,
cars are finely tuned to NMRA weight.
right.
The trucks are tuned with the Micromark truck tuner. They all have Intermountain steel wheels in them, and they all have KD number 5s with extra magnetic dust on the pins. So what you're seeing is the weight. There's really no place to hide weight in an ore car, so I just make it look like dirt.
It kind of looks like a residual, and it's like, yeah, fine, that's great. And I was like, and you get to keep the weight. Yay.
Yeah, you can see I've tried different sizes and stuff. I like using the liquid gravity now from that company in England. I buy it at the.
Ooh, okay.
It's really tiny little pellets.
Are you going to talk about building the Edmund Fitzgerald later?
No.
Someone's asking about that.
Okay, the Edmund Fitzgerald I might have a picture of it. I did not build. There was a gentleman in Michigan, and it's a wood model. It's gorgeous. It's not really the scale, but it's made from wood, and I'm putting lights on it now. But shipbuilding's not my forte. You know, I've kind of measured out what I need for 1,000 footer. So here's this part 2, right? So the loads are all removable, and they're all cast out of 2-part resin. There's a hole drilled in them. On the backside, I used a Forstner bit, and I removed it, and steel washers. And they're painted various colors of rust. And then the pins are inserted and removed by hands, and the ore loads come out using an ore plucker. And I can actually show you live here later. But that yellow thing in my hand has a tortoise switch throw in it in the middle of like 3 rare earth magnets. And that if you just grab the ore loads with magnets, the loads will go all over and derail the ore cars. But if by learning to put that tortoise pin in there, it keeps the ore load coming straight out.
Huh.
So I just pluck that right. I pull the pin out and I stick it on a map. You'll see behind it, or a graph of the boat, and then I'll pluck the ore out with that. You know, you stick it right in there, and out it comes. And it doesn't derail the car on the dock, so you don't have to reach out there and try and derail on that crazy tree. And there's like, I drilled an indentation in it, and there's 2 steel washers.
Yeah.
And they're heavy, but once again, loads just go downhill.
Right.
So I don't have to fight a helix or grades or pushers. I'm eventually going to go to 3D printed loads.
So another question, sorry.
Yes.
You changed the hangers for the chutes on the Walthers ore dock?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, because the Walthers one, I got the dock. At the time, you couldn't get them. The dock I got like secondhand, and most of them were broken.
Yep.
And so I made more durable ones with my cricket cutter and styrene. They're going to be replaced because the chutes are getting replaced. The gentleman at Sioux Parts is making exact replica ore chutes from the dock in Michigan, which are really highly detailed. They're really cool.
Nice.
So I'm slowly going through and upgrading things.
I really like the hanger change out though, because you're right. Those are just too fragile.
They're too fragile. I'm eventually probably going to make them like the Walthers, but they'll be out of metal. You know,
okay.
Like tubing,
like
or something.
Brass soldered together or something like that.
Correct. Yeah. I make a jig and I'll sit down here and watch TSG Multimedia G-scale layout and solder up, you know, the hangers for those.
I like the cut of this guy's jibs.
Yeah.
This is good.
I also replaced the top. You'll see the controllers up there. Those are all new. Those are styrene with wires for the dock operators.
Huh.
And then the little cart, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but I've got them now. They call them trapper machines. There's actually a machine they drive up and down the dock that opens and closes the ore cars. And it's called a trapper machine. There's a deep dive right there. And there's some videos out there of that. So, but everything's done by hand. So I can have empties, and then I got a bucket. I call it the ore bucket ore. Throw them in there. And then at the mines, when there's empties, I'll pull out 10, put pins in them, and then put them in the cars. And so I could keep operating perpetually.
Get a bucket of ore loads.
Yeah. So people are, let's go to lunch. We've had enough of red dirt.
If I'd had a chance to experience this presentation before I wrote the description, I would have said, if you're ever thinking about doing an ore layout, you don't have to think of anything, because everything that he's going to tell you is already the best idea is probably going. This is really good.
I really like you're facilitating the ops on this thing.
Yeah,
with the way you've modeled it. That's cool.
You're smarter than I thought, Tom.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that are hauling iron ore and they want to use my system.
I don't blame them. Yeah.
So I give credit to John Tooze and Mike Sophie, the local ore, that I've taken what they've done and changed it around. I have 5 colors. I'll show you how I added some interchange, and those guys were insane and had up to almost like 20 colors of ore. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. That's too much switching. So, but this is like one commodity, because everybody, like I said, it's like Mike Jordan's reefer. It's everybody takes the reefer and they haul it to the food place. And it's like, no, there's so much nuance to this. That's not a nuisance. And I always liked it about operations. I really can buy into a story if somebody's got a nuance.
Right.
That's what they actually did, rather than you're just making a nuisance and switching cars to switch cars. And so there's the little map on the wall, the graph, and those squares, the rectangles down there is where I'd pull the pins out and stick them in there so you can visually see how much you've loaded in the boat.
Okay. And now I understand the reference to Matt Dosa.
Yeah, the Matt Dosa's, and it's one of my best friend Dan Dosa's son. I name my boats after friends, so I'll name one after Sydney or something. I do that, so I can do that. And so so I put 2 of these up on the wall, and the odd thing is, in like my 2-3 hour sessions, we've never loaded a full boat. I think one time we got a full boat. I think it's because everybody sits around and talks. That doesn't happen at your sessions, does it, Murph or John? Nobody...
Oh no, nobody talk. We don't eat donuts or talk at all.
It's work, work.
Oh yeah, we have at SVL we have a helix, and when I used to go into dispatch, I used to threaten to move my dispatching to the middle of the helix so people could quit bothering.
That would be you could be speed then. You could be just in the helix. Yeah. Yeah, that's the op sessions get derailed more by people talking than actual derailments. But I think that's the fun. That's what we're there for. So
actually, it's why you're there, really.
That is why I go, and that's why. And that's, like I said, your podcast is wonderful. That's why I created the Crossing Gate podcast. Was the discussions after the op sessions were so awesome. I said, we have to record these. This is the best part of the hobby.
Yes.
And so I said, that's what I kind of, just pick a subject and we'll turn it into a podcast. So here's a little clinic on how did they know percentage of ore, right? I mean, you and I would pick up a hunk of red dirt. It's, it's iron ore, right? So they called it sampling. And this is a photo from my friend Hans, who models the Gojibik range. There's a good Michigan town there, Murph. And this guy is dragging probably a tin coffee can across a load of iron ore from the C&W. And then he'd write down the car number on that can or in the bucket next to him, and he'd take it to the assayer's office.
So just a random sample of whatever happened to be on top, technically.
Happened to be on top. And so here's a movie I came across. This is from YouTube. And so this is the Great Northern. This is just a documentary, and they're shoving these ore cars into the loader here and filling them with red dirt. And here's this guy with his can. He's just taking a scoop, and he's going to take that.
As good as any.
Yeah, they're going to sample it. How'd you like that for a job? I bet that probably pays maybe like 60 cents an hour, but it's
back then, yeah.
That's more
and
than
then
I
they get
make
all the
on
trains, and
YouTube.
then they hook up biggest steam engine they could find, and drag it down to Eloise. So,
but there'd be that much variance in all the loads where they'd actually have to grade each car separately.
What kind of happened, what I learned was, so they didn't switch each car like my layout. They'd switch a cut of cars. So if you loaded 10 cars, from the Sydney mine, those cars would be grouped together.
Okay.
So like in the Masabi at Proctor going down to Duluth or Two Harbors, you'd get numbers of a cut of cars. Okay, we're going to switch these 10 cars, go with those 8 cars, go with these 5 cars. On a model railroad, I just shrink it down.
It's a selective compression.
It's selective compression of that.
Yeah.
So the live loads, no, I'm not that insane.
I've seen bad things with live loads.
I have seen so many bad things. There is a modeler in town. He's probably one of the greatest modelers I've ever met, named Jeff Crocker. He's doing ON30, some West Virginia. He's scratch building shays every part. I don't want to get into it, but he has live loads for coal and things. But yeah, no, live loads don't interest me. That's a nuisance.
live loads are fun till the dustbuster comes out.
It is, until you derail that 30-car coal train in the ravine,
Yeah.
It's funny you should mention about derailing live load trains. There's a guy in Southern California that has a beautiful N-scale Southern Pacific layout, and he has a full unit beat train. The beat gons.
Oh, yes.
Southern Pacific. That he uses live loads in N-scale. They derailed it inside his helix, and it fell all over the floor. That was a great story of cleaning that up. Imagine
but was he using ball bearings?
No, I don't remember what he said he was using in them, but they looked really good. I mean, for N scale. But anyway.
Yeah, I wonder what he used. Mike Jordan showed me he was using fennel seeds for HO scale sugar beets.
That sounds like it might have even been, I just don't remember. It was a few years ago at SoCal Ops when I went, and I heard that story, and I saw the train, and I think I commented on it on my podcast or on the show that I did about SoCal Ops. I'll have to look it up and see, because it might even mention what he was using, but it looked pretty good though. And it didn't happen when I was there. The derailment was a story that he told, and I could just imagine the stream of 4-letter words that came out when that happened.
Oh yeah.
Because you got to reload them too. That's the other fun part.
Yeah, I vacuum it up, and it's even worse. I learned the downside of current keepers. I had a train.
Yes.
I look back, and it derailed, and it had like 3 of these big Atlas engines that are running there. And it came off the tracks and it kept going. I'm like, this is the most prototypical derailment I've ever seen on my layout, because the engines, the whole train just kept going for like 2 feet.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh, thank God I don't have live loads here.
Yeah, I did that at SVL with a bunch of ST70s, 4 ST70s, all with the big current keepers from Soundtracks.
Oh yeah.
And they ran against a switch, and they kept going. It was pretty spectacular.
It is spectacular. You need to make a video of just all derailments. It'll be your top one. That would
be the viral video of model train derailments, right?
The B-roll videos of disasters, because I know we do that on some of the other social medias. If somebody's live streaming, when you live stream your layout, there's always a derailment, but we always screen capture it to send to them. That's part of the fun, is ribbing somebody.
Yeah. Worst part is they leave the track, and there's no way to give them a DCC command to tell them to stop. They just keep going.
And I'm sure, like, I see, Sparky's in here with his huge layout. It's like, stop, no, hit the brake. You can't. They're gonna go till, and I like soundtracks. I'm all soundtracks. I'm not gonna say what's good or bad, but they say, oh, this will give you 10 seconds of runtime. I'll shut off my layout. I've got engines that'll run for a minute.
Oh yeah, same here.
So I'm like, the lights are going, it's still chugging away. I'm like, that's crazy. These current keepers are amazing.
Yeah. I'm soundtracks mostly because that's what I started with. And I want the easiest to consist kind of thing, so I don't mix and match.
Right. No, I'm with you, Murph. That's some of the best advice. Yeah, there's probably things that are better or different, whatever, but I go to what I can do, and soundtracks is something that I know how to manipulate and program and get it to run the way I want. So I stick with that.
Yeah. The only lock sounds I have are some Kato or Kato Kobe. They're for my Amtrak fleet, and so they never mix in with the freight haulers at all. Anyway.
Yeah, so. I love my other friends have that on their layouts, and I love them. I just this is really cool. I just have to get used to them. Ron, okay. It's based on Taconite Harbor or two. It's based on two harbors. He's asking, so those not from Minnesota, Taconite Harbor was a harbor built for the Erie Mining Company. And the Erie Mining Company dock was really, it's kind of insane to explain to somebody who's not from here. So their dock didn't stick out on the water. Erie Mining Company dock went along the edge, and the train would come down, and I'll show you a picture of their car. And this guy invented, when they first started opening and closing the cars for taconite pellets, it took too long. So necessity being the mother of invention, the Erie Mining Company, this guy came up with this idea, and he put a car tire on each side of the car. So each side had a car tire. And as the train came over the dock, they took an old railroad rail on hydraulics and raised it up. And the tire would come in contact and start to spin. And as it spun, it would open up the clamshells, so the train never stopped. And then it would get to a certain point, and that rail would go down on the right side, and it would come up on the left side, and that wheel would spin and close it. And then the train came down and did like this loop figure eight on a reverse switch and went back up. They never stopped. And then they had these huge conveyor belts which would stick out over the boats and pour the taconite pellets into them. And they had water sprayers to keep down the dust.
So they had conveyor belts going out into the water?
Yeah. The conveyor belts would stick out over the boats, which are huge. They're 1,000-foot boats.
Yeah.
But they had the fastest loading dock on the Great Lakes. And they were probably a half a day or a day's sailing from Duluth, so they could cut transit time. You could make 25 trips a year from like Erie Mining versus 20 from the Duluth docks.
Wow.
But I modeled two harbors because I could Agate Bay, so Splitrock is second fiddle to the Mesabi, who has two docks in the town of Two Harbors, and we got one. So that's hope that answers you, Ron, that I'm modeling two harbors. So yeah, the playing 3 acts. So my sessions go for 2 hours. I can run 3, 2, or even a single operator. It just picks up with the last one. If Murph came over now, right now we're loading a boat. We need 10 white ore loads. And I just change out the index cards. It's slow paced. Like I said, no paperwork. It's kind of therapeutic. Lots of times guys will swap jobs in a session. I'll let them run. Hey, you do this for 40 minutes, and then John, you take over the yard. Murph, go run the main line. So everybody can do something different. It's very social. So the play in 3 acts, mine run, act 1. You'll take 10 empty ore cars and a caboose to the mine loaders. The mines have arrival tracks. You'll swap them out and then return to what I call Vermilion Yard with the loads and place them on an outbound track. And you run around the train and remove the caboose if you have a mine caboose. And then you also control the movements at the north end. So Act 2 is the road trains, which moves the empties from Agate Bay up to Vermilion. You work a caboose track and you double the ore loads from Vermilion and bring them down. So if you were the road guide, you'd have 3 big Elcos. You'd go get a caboose, put it on the departure track. Murph would give you 20 empty ore cars. You'd tie on and drag it up to the arrival track in Vermilion, uncouple, and then run around, and then you double two tracks of ore cars with a caboose and bring the loads back down, in the part of the conveyor belt. And then Act 3 is the yard. And if you want, you can wait and sort the cars. I do have a scale, but I don't make people do that. That's kind of for show. Pull the empty cars off the dock to the departure track, shove loaded cars on the dock, coordinate with road trains, and then foreign cars, you go to interchange track. And so here's the pins. In my learning curve, I've reduced the amount of colors from 8 to 5. I had a dark blue, but no one could tell dark blue from black. So the yard job, if you're colorblind, that's the only job you can't run, because you need. I put pink in cars for bad orders. And so now here it says each mine produces 2 of each color. That's not true anymore. I've switched it to where you'll pull 10 cars out of a mine loader, and of the 10 cars, you'll have 2 of each color. And I said, like, the tactile effect of moving the pins is similar to Mike Jordan's card punch. Mike Jordan has an actual conductor punches for moving his produce. And then this is like Murph and I were talking earlier about elbows up. A fellow in town by the name of Jeff Otto is one of the most beautiful layouts to run, and he uses all magnets. And he sold me on the idea of magnets once I learned I can move the magnets in and out of position. So you don't uncouple trains you don't want to uncouple.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so I have
Explain that again.
So Katie makes variety of magnets. Let's put them into 2 groups. You have delayed and non-delayed.
Right.
And so where I need the delayed magnets, if you have those under the rails at all time, any train that goes over it, if there's slack, will uncouple.
Right.
So I had to find a way to get those out of the way. And I have 3 methods now, and I'm working on a 4th. One is I have magnets on a hinge. On like a spring, you'll actually move it up into position when you want it and let them go when you don't. I have magnets that go up and down with a throw rod, and I have magnets that you can pull in and out of position. I've built an underground channel under the rails for the delayed magnets. And then, like I'll show in my yard, I have non-delayed magnets where you can couple on top of them. And that's in my yard, and that makes switching. All you do is push to the cut, pull away, push to the cut, pull away, push. And you don't touch anything but throw the switch points, line the switch points.
Wow.
And so, yeah, once I've learned that I can move these magnets out of the way, I don't want anyone touching my trains,
That's cool.
Yeah, and then the delayed magnet for spotting on the ore dock, you'll shove out to the ore dock to a certain spot, do a delayed magnet with the engine, and then you can push the ore cars to the exact pocket on that exact track that you want. So I've got sliding hinge pistons, and I'm working on electric magnets now too. So there's no uncoupling skewers. And if my operators ask for one, I tell them you're in the wrong place. So down the rabbit hole, right? Thought it was great. I had my operations photo. Jeff Lemke showed iron ore being interchanged, right? Like, why would you change dirt? Well, sometimes maybe your dock isn't working. Sometimes you can't get the right enough ore quality to fill an order. And I figured out how I could do this. And so these are the other railroads in my area that haul iron ore in Northern Pacific, Great Northern, Mesabi, and the Sioux Line. And it was an excuse to add some variety to my brown ore fleet, right? Look for decals, old champ decals, learned how to repair those. Like I showed you the handwritten cards. I'm still trying to look for Sioux Line decals. I'm trying to get a guy to make the correct ones. And so these pictures started popping up. And here's these beautiful Mesabi SD38s. And you can see the different colors of ore, but the cars to the right of them are all rib side. So those are all Sioux Line and Northern Pacific cars up in Proctor, Minnesota. And they probably gave it to them because they only had one ore dock and it was probably in need of repair. And then here's the Great Northern, huge ore yard in Eloise. And on the left are all the interchange cars. They actually had a hump yard here. It's kind of wild. They hump iron ore cars. I had videos of that. It's crazy. And then here's the Mesabi. And you can see a Great Northern train going over. And this is the Mesabi bringing iron ore. They'll pull by us and shove up on that track to the left and give this to the Great Northern. Here you can see the cars of different colors of ore, so different grades. And that's one probably less than a year after where I'm operating. And here's an entire train of Sioux line ore going over to the Burlington Northern at Saunders, Wisconsin, on the way to Superior. So this existed in the real world, so why not model it? Ta-da! So here's my cars that I got to paint up some lovely black NP ones and Great Northern and then Mesabi cars. And it just adds a little more variety to my operations.
So did you airbrush in the reddishness into your ballast and all that?
Probably not airbrush, but like a big makeup brush. I think I should have bought stock and weathering powder. Because that's that. If you ever go up northern Minnesota, that's what the tracks look like. Everything, there should be nothing. It should be redder actually. So I made a concerted effort.
Actually, the picture 2 ago with the DMIR engines.
Oh yeah.
The ballast on that, it was like they painted it that ore red. It was pretty cool.
If you went up there now, you'd think they ballast with taconite pellets.
Yeah.
So that's the red dirt is everywhere in the yards. And then on the main line, it dissipates a little bit because it's not as concentrated, but in the yards and at the mines, it's all that red dirt. All right. Any more questions? We'll go on to this one here. So I saw these Great Northern and these experimental paint schemes. I didn't want to do that. That was very tempting, but it gets away from my model, the common. One of my mantras I stick by is the more common things you model, the more your layout will stand out. Versus the person with all heritage units or all the crazy steam engines and stuff. So new pin colors, there's these Great Northern red cars. They use red for Mesabi, silver, and of course I had to abuse the Great Northern guys to make it big sky blue. They just hated that.
There's a question, Tom.
Yes.
Great ideas with the magnets. Have you ever tried electromagnets with a switch?
I have, and I'm going to use them because I just found out, actually found one online and I found them at some shows. Katie doesn't make them anymore, but they're called, I don't know if I have one here, UEM4s. Because I think everybody's seen the Katie electromagnet with the big coil wire underneath it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I'm not digging my layout. So Katie used to make one that sat. You took out a few ties and it sat on your ties. And then you hook it up to the AC power pack, some old Tyco power pack, and put a momentary button in between it.
And it almost be like, it sounds like the old Lionel operating accessory track.
It is. It makes about the same amount of noise. So I'm trying those out so I can get rid of all my hinges and things. But I never knew they made this. I knew they made the big circular electromagnet. Right. But I've been finding these old UEM4s, and it's genius. I'm like, what happened to these? I'm sure they started fires somewhere, but. Is ore yes, ore is my only industry because we are the industry. It's a mining company. It's not a railroad. We don't service window factories, paper mills up north. No, there's no pulpwood sidings. This is a purpose-built line. It's the transportation department of an iron ore mining company that's owned by Cleveland Cliffs and Bethlehem Steel and Inland Steel. And everybody who's not United States Steel. The Mesabi was owned by U.S. Steel. They had the biggest one. And so basically that's what the Splitrock is, just a mining company. That's why the reporting marks end with an X. They're not a railroad. who's going to release the caboose. Yeah. All right. So then here's the interchange car I showed earlier, and I can handwrite these in. I left them blank on here so I can, rotate up what cars I want to see show up at an op session. How many Mesabi, how many Great Northern. And then loading the dock pockets. A friend of mine talked about when they loaded the rock, and an iron ore dock pocket holds 4 ore cars worth of ore, and then they'd have two more cars on top to dump. So they dump 6 loads of iron ore into one pocket of the ship. And when you pile all that dirt, let's say you're building a funnel, and you guys probably all lived in this home, you want the thicker stuff on the bottom. If you put the sand on the bottom and you open it up and it gets wet, it's not coming out.
Yeah.
So they not only by type of ore grade, they also tried to load it by size. So four cars with ore to the rock first, and that's what the dot is on the iron ore for. It makes a little more switching. And I can do that or not add it to a session. You can see this guy's got a lot of rock on that Mesabi car. And ore is really sticky. You can see this is ore pokers. They would advertise for these guys all the time, 50, 60 cents an hour. And if you do your job good, you end up with a ride down to the car and into the boat. But
dangerous.
I just can't imagine, that's a job. They probably like the rock ones. And I'll show you even a worse thing than this. So yeah, here's the good old days of manpower. And they actually especially made sticks, and open up the doors, nothing comes out because it was sticky. And there's 2 to 4 guys each car poking away, for 16 hours a day, 67 cents an hour.
Ouch.
Yeah, good old days. And so this is worse. This was a story I was told, and these are what they call the Mesabi flat tops. And you can see the second and third row of cars, it doesn't extend up because they would dig it out of the ground in the open pit mines. It was basically mud.
Yeah. And does that start to solidify?
Yeah. And so when they were digging that up, they'd throw hay in the bottom of the car, hopefully. And then they put this stuff in there, but you'd see a couple tracks of these, and the dock guys would lay off. They're like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, look at the rust puddles on either side. That's a gorgeous shot.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Where's the ballast? What ballast?
Yeah.
Just rust.
Yeah. That's, what's your favorite color? We'd like Sierra Harbor. He's rust we trust. Like, all I do is I haul rust.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, that's just, my friend runs a Mesabi. I always wanted to see me. I wouldn't have these because they use underground mines. They wouldn't find mud. But I wanted to do some models with some clear finish for friends of mine that do Mesabi. I thought it'd be great to have some flat tops. What a horrible way to remember. See, there's no taconite in this photo at all. There's no extensions, no pellets. And you can see the different colors of iron ore. So these guys didn't even need pins. So. And then so the rock type are ones that I just put a dot on. And you can use a rock type for either loads, but if you can get those in the boat first, you're doing better. So then spotting on the dock, the operator's cards, try and use the guides. You can see here where they lower every other chute. Because the ore boats or the ore cars on the dock, they're 24 feet long, and when coupled together, they fit over every other chute. They don't fit over every hole. So track 1, you'd have the even number pockets, and then track 2, you'd shove the odd.
Right.
And then once again, here's the boat graph that you do that. So now if you want to do more freedom with shoves, this is, if you just wanted to go by this, I've had some operators go, if every boat gets every color, can I shove out there? I said, you can till the end. I said, if you want to keep track of it this way and you do less switching, I said, but at the end, you're going to have to be very specific with the last couple of shoves. So you can just check off boxes that way. So we'll go through some of my equipment here and what I've done to it. And basically, ore cars everywhere. all the rolling stock that's used in op sessions. If you see other cars on my layout, they are not used. They're just scenery. So here's that Erie Mining Company. You see the car tire on there.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, yeah, the other side had a tire, and then a rail would come up, make contact with that, and it spun, the clamshell on the bottom would open up as it's
Clever
rolling.
idea.
It's a genius idea. But you can see, like, their car, it's $199. I've got pictures of their first ore cars, and they were like every other car. They showed the weight and the load and did this and the reporting marks and said Erie Mining on it, and they're like, well, they don't go anywhere. They're not going to any other railroads. I just put a number on it so we know which one to maintain.
Plus, it looks cool.
Here we go. I got a number and I got an ACI label and car track system. The Masabi was one of the first ones to use the car track system. Keep their vast fleet of cars together. So very simple. They're 3 digits, 100 to 999. And so I wanted it simple color. I weight them. I put on the new trucks, Walter's original ore cars. If you get some of the original ones and they derail or don't run, they put the wrong trucks on them.
Yeah.
And we all of us red dirt haulers shamed them into making correct trucks. So you can now buy them. Use the Micromark tuner, Intermountain 33-inch wheels because they're 70-ton cars, KD5s, and added iron oxide to the trip pins. I'll show you that here in a second. So there's the new trucks. There's the truer. There's my Intermountain wheels, my scale. I pour in those beads till I get to the right ounces. There's a liquid gravity on the lower left from Deluxe Materials. Deluxe Material is known for liquid gravity and the umbrella girl at train shows, so be kind. But then I found this atomized steel, and it's basically powdered steel. And I dipped the KD trip pin after I've adjusted it to where I want it, the right height. You have to work at this if you're going to do magnets. And I dip it in CA glue, and then I'll dip it in this atomized steel, and it makes the magnets work that much better. You can see the little lump at the end there.
Yeah.
And so there's more steel for that magnet to work on. And I've even gone down and cut loops off some of the springs. So, being an operator, you do that. That's what matters to me, is when I find cars that won't uncouple or won't work right. Because I want you and Murph and Sydney to come over and have a real good time. I don't want you guys fighting with couplers.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if it's not fun, why do it, right?
Yeah, then why do it? I think one of the misconceptions the layout owners have is, there's really nothing you can damage on my layout. I always tell me, if you derail, put it back on, but let me see it first, because I want to know why it derailed. And my favorite answer is, if a train derails because of you, I'm actually quite happy then, because it's not my switches, it's not my wheels. It's not my low-hanging coupler pins. It's not it's your fault, Murph. Okay, throw the switch next time. I'm happy as a cat. Put it back on and keep playing. And everything, he's going to be mad. And it's like, no, layout owners are very happy when it's your fault.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're in a layout where the only mistakes that happen were the operators, it's a pretty damn nice railroad.
It's a nice railroad. That's a good session, and that's how I look at it. So here's that pine tree tradition. They put it on the first load, and like I said, they put a broom in the last load. I've got pictures of that. I'm making up some signs and some photographers. And what's best about this photo is, look at the second car, the guy taking the picture. John, you need pants like that. See,
I hate to say it, but I remember owning a pair of pants like that. So.
Are those cords? I can't even tell.
No, they're plaid bell bottoms.
Isn't that great? 1977.
Yeah. That's an embarrassment from my past.
But I think we all had that with corduroy suits. I think we had that. But that's what I want to do. I'm making an article.
Oh, even worse, leisure suits.
A leisure suit was worse, than those pants. But I got a kick out of that. The first cherry picker here, these 3 guys stuffed in there, and then the guy taking the photo with those pants. These guys, we got hard hats and safety, and we're doing all this, and camera guy just climbs up there on his own.
Right. Well,
with his gloss boots, no helmet.
We need to get some Talking Trains branded leisure suits and wear them for the show. Oh,
I'd wear that for you. I'm from that era. I could do that.
You could probably make it work. So no, Sierra Valley's asking another question about the. It's actually a comment, I think. But then he asked a question about who your influences are.
Major influences in modeling for operation, like I said, late John Toos, and John Allen with his tab on car system, which is a little more complex than mine. And the more I read and think about John Allen and go back, how far ahead that guy was.
For when he was doing his thing.
Yeah, when he was doing, with you needed water, and he had a car that, beeped at you if you handled it bad, and the time for the boat. I mean, he was so far ahead of the game, especially with his modeling. I try and look at more modern influences of realistic model, like Mike Rose is a big influence of mine, and I suppose it's all in how you want to look at things. Like I talk with William Sampson a lot about layouts as art and painting. And you look at Tom Johnson's layout, Tom Klomoski's, and some of these other ones that you had on there, John, the Yosemite Valley, is art. If that's not art, I don't know, it's a painting of that day and that time. And, the influence he has may not be in my modeling, but the influence he showed was narrow your focus and you can do things like this, right?
Right.
And you can get the Yosemite Valley type things. And it's just, it's beautiful. Yeah, what do you say? What do you say those pants were stretch rayon? What was it? I think Ron's got a pair.
Dacron, wasn't it? Something like that.
I think those are toxic, right? The stretch rayon pants. So here's the Reserve Mining Company, which was really odd. I got this picture because here they show this car hauled the first load of taconite from Babbitt to Silver Bay. And the Reserve Mining didn't haul pellets. They hauled the taconite rock down to the shore of Lake Superior, where they ground it up, and they decided to make the pellets at the lake, which was probably the better way to do it, but it was worse for the environment because at the time they just started in the 50s, 60s, they just started dumping the tailings into Lake Superior. It's rock, right? Hey, let's put it back in. Well, after crushing it and doing everything to it, it contained huge amounts of asbestos, and that started showing up in the drinking water of the towns along Lake Superior, which, resulted in huge lawsuits and them changing to hauling their waste rock away. But so back to this. So they have these cars specially painted, even at little mining roads like this. And so here's what I have. And so I painted up these yellow cars, and I put the first load of iron ore from Agate Bay, first load from the Elizabeth Mine, and the first load from Diana Lynn. Well, I picked the numbers, right? So 323 is the first load. That's my anniversary. So I'll always remember that, March 23rd. The Elizabeth Mine's named for my daughter. That's her birthday, July 2nd. And then 922, Diana Lynn's my wife, September 22nd. That's her birthday. So I've got instant reminders.
And you don't use any of these number sequences for your bank cards or anything like that, right?
No. I wouldn't remember them otherwise. This is how I'm like, oh, that's right.
What's that, John? You're muted.
John got muted.
I do that on Zoom too. I drive like this too, actually. I was going to say, Murph, you got the inappropriate questions. Usually that's Alvin's job to ask inappropriate questions. But I do want to say something. We need to get Dave to adopt this large font on the side of the car for car numbers, because even in HO scale, I find myself needing light. I need to wear stronger glasses than the ones I'm looking at now.
I got on my phone to look at
even more than the size. It's the where. A lot of
Yeah.
times the numbers are so low that if you have a car in front, you can't see them until you get up over them and tilt the car back so you can actually see it.
Yeah. And then there's flat cars where it's just running on that tiny strip of, deck or whatever, the sill or the side frame.
This would be a dream in comparison.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I mean, look at this. Oh, I need car 320. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I've used my phone on N-scale layouts to look at the numbers. Okay.
I've done that on HO.
So, yeah. Well, John said flat cars. How do you see this? And then the guy weathers it and adds graffiti, and I'm like, give me a chance here, will you? So yeah, I've got some yellow cars running around on my layouts. Be like, what are they for? And it's the first load the company painted. We'll go from that. So rolling stock, other than cabooses, I've got the 1 through 6 of the caboose, the mainline caboose, 7 to 9 of my transfer. Flat cars, gondolas, and these are mostly cars I paint up and I give to people that I operate with or their friends or something like that. Murph, I'll have to get you a nice wood hauling car. I ask them what era they model, and what industries they have on their layout. So there's Splitrock mining steel coil cars out there. A friend of mine has a German railroad, so I got a Markland ore car and I used all the reporting marks, and I had them custom made decals. So there's a yellow Deutsche Bahn Splitrock car somewhere. It says Bergbau, just so people can, because nobody wants one ore car, right? What are you gonna do with one ore car? So if anybody has a layout, so if they model 40s and 50s, they'll get a 40-foot box car. Modern layouts will get plug doors, or right now I like making gondolas because I like weathering, and everybody has a scrap yard, so I can get away with all. And I saw somebody earlier, they said we're getting cars, when are we getting a caboose? I don't know if home shops will ever do a caboose, because it'd be tough. It's one thing to have a railroad, a freelance railroad boxcar on your layout, but to have a freelance caboose on your layout that's kind of tough. I don't think home shops would do that. So these are usually torpedoes.
Yeah, you never know. Might take that on if there was enough interest in it.
That's true. If you could find the right railroad and people like, hey, that'd be kind of cool to have a pool caboose from, some of these layouts are really popular.
Yeah, just never say never.
Yeah. I never saw John's operating in person, but I've had chats with him online and texting and everything else. Dave, we were close. We were both pretty much running the Facebook groups of iron ore modeling. Do I ever just run trains I do run trains for fun because I can run it by myself. And I think Steve asked, I'll do that on TikTok. I'll just put my camera in a gimbal and I'll switch out. So do an ore run, do a mainline run, and call it a day. It's a very easy layout. Nothing gets out of place. So, and this is also my tribute. Erie Mining Company had 5 cabooses, and they had exotic numbers of 1 through 5. So the funny thing was Erie Mining ordered, there's a wonderful book on them. They ordered bay window cabooses first. And after about 10 or 12 trips, the taconite pellets fall off taconite cars alarmingly, and they bounce off the ties and were breaking the windows on the bay windows.
Oh, you're kidding.
Wow.
So they sent them back and had them build them into wide vision cabooses. I never thought about that. Yeah, those taconite pellets go all over. If you go to northern Minnesota and you see a railroad bridge over a highway, there's the bridge, and then there's probably a 15 to 20 foot tall screen fence, because the pellets will fall off and just be worse than hail on any car driving underneath.
Yeah, it'd be heavy.
It'd be heavy. It's crazy. And so then I've got, these are transfer cabooses, some Fox Valley. I just wanted some variety in there.
I like those. Yeah.
They're really cool. Flat cars. First ones I made for, I was working on my NMRA achievement program, and they had the scratch build cars. And Lone Star region had a beautiful clinic on scratch building flat cars. So I made 2 flat cars and they made 2 of them into gondolas. And they said, well, I need some maintenance away cars. And so that's how that started. You see the gray maintenance way, and then the other one up top, I think that's at Dan Dose's Minnesota commercial layout. So they'll send one of those to you, Murph. He can send you those.
Cool. Okay.
And, boxcars. This one I think is down in Arkansas. So here's a more modern boxcar. And there's all the correct lettering on there. And SMRX, you can see it's not a railroad. And so here's the engines, which I said I wanted something unique, but I didn't want to get crazy. And I'm like, oh, in the 60s, Elko was still going. And that's why I went to 69, which was the last year of Elko.
Oh, is that why someone was making the smart aleck comment about showing us your EMDs?
Yeah. Not yet. I was making, the funny thing about that, I was making, I was going to do one of the April Fool's jokes. I might do it for next year, was take a picture of like my rock cut, my signature scene of like every 10 years. And so like 69 would be the Elkos, and 79 would be some, Elkos with some EMDs, and 89 would be leased engines, and 99 would be a bike trail. And 4 Woodland Scenics like ballast over that, and then get some prizer figures of guys riding bikes with a sign that, well, this is what it is now. Even EMDs couldn't save it, so. But that's realism. Like, what would your railroad be like modern? Would you have SD70 Aces? I said, it's a bike trail. It's a bike trail. So.
Oh, that's really
color
bad.
choice. So I wanted something brighter than maroon. It shows off weathering.
Yeah.
So here's my
considering our daily battles on Facebook over the rail trail here.
Oh yeah. So I thought I'd poke hard fun at them in real because I made 2 comments. One time was to a guy's layout, and he operated Chicago Northwestern, beautiful layout. It's been in Model Railroad, and every session he had, he'd move it ahead 6 months till he got to like the current, and then he'd start moving it back. And you got the variety of all the equipment and stuff. And he had a branch line that went to Spooner, Wisconsin. And I asked him, I said, so when you get to 1980, do you get out the spatula and pull all that up? Is that going to be? I was never invited back. So.
Well, someone with that thin of skin, you don't want to go back anyway.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Do you pave over this portion at that time? So my roster, I went with Elkos. And so everybody goes, well, why are the RS1s and the FAs? But the RS11s would be the earliest I could have in 56, because all those other ones were out of the Elko catalog, deep dives, rabbit holes. So I picked engines that I could have based on the models that were available. And I had RS11s, 27s, 32s, I had RS36s, but I've since got rid of those because I thought that was just too many. C415s were a wish until Bowser happened to make them. Atlas is everything else, 420s, 425s. The C430s Bowsers, I have 2 of those in the demo scheme. And the C630s just made it on the layouts, and the 636s are in the shop. And now the RS23s are coming out. I was going to have Elko S8s, but I found a brass. I got the curse. This is the greatest curse. I finally found a brass Van Hobbies RS23 that somebody was selling, and I paid them more than I should have. I got it, painted it, decaled it. It's at the installers. It's coming back. And then Rapido. As soon as I did that, Rapido announces.
Oh.
So there has to be a term for that in model rarity. What's the term for you kit bash this engine, and then a week later they announce it? So
it probably something like Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah, Murphy.
Hey, don't blame me.
It never fails. Yeah.
It never fails. The greatest example was my friend William Sampson doing Milwaukee Road and stuff, SDL 39s. And he finally got like 6 or 7 Overland brass SDL 39s, painted DCC lights, and then Scale Trains announces them. And I'm like,
yeah.
wow.
And with the way model manufacturers are these days, especially, Scale Trains and Rapido, they will do something kind of off the wall like that. And you're just like, what? They're making that?
Yeah. That's why I'm scared to start building my SD28s. I'm building them for the engine AP certificate. Reserve Mining had them. And Reserve Mining had 4. And some railroad down south had 2. There's only 6 of them made in the entire United States. So I'm like, I think I'm pretty safe. But knowing somebody, hey, look what we're making,
Yeah.
So we'll get onto the scenery and stuff. So here's the photos. RS-27s, they're Proto 2000s, the 32s. I would have liked to have the alligators. I really like the RSD-15s, the long noses. There's the 36s. There's the C420s. These are my workhorses.
They also have nice big numbers on them.
Yes, so you know which engine. And all of my engines for DCC, they're all advanced consists, right? So this one, if you were going to run these, if Murph came over, you dial in 24. And they're all advanced consists. So when you change direction, the headlight changes, the sound changes. So it's, I don't break them up that much. There's not really any need to. So I'll run the road power in 3 sets. If it's 4 axle, you get 3 engines, the 6 axles too. But I put them all in the advanced consist, and they're all speed matched with current keepers, and it's a thing of joy.
Yep.
And then I got 1 425 on the roster just cause. And then the C430s are Bowser's. As is, I just added my beacon on there. I have the Ehrenheim rotary beacons that actually have 4 LEDs in them. And there's the C630, the Bowser 630s and the 636s. So they're coming along. There's the 415 that's going to be, I have 2 of them. They're in the paint shop. They wouldn't make split rock, so I got the yellow ones. And then this. So thanks to Home Shot and Rapido, anybody can own one of my Alcos here. So these are going to be pretty cool. So if you want big numbers on an engine, get one of those, Murph. We'll lease it to you. I'll weather it up for you, and you can graffiti it.
There could be a plausible reason why something like that shows up on the branch, right?
I think if you bought one and for a grain elevator or something, those things went to 100 different short lines modern day.
I was going to say industrial switching at the Felton reclaimed wood factory.
Absolutely, that's their old beater, crossed out. And so, here's the Van Hobbies one I got, and of course,
Wow.
So here's where the lettering came from. This was a US Steel, and I saw this, and I saw that font, and I dug, and I went to fonts.com, and I finally found that crazy industrial grunge font. And I said, that's the engine I want, because it's a mining company. We're not advertising. We're not selling passenger trains. It's not pretty.
That's just an old school stencil, it looks like.
Isn't it? It is. It's basically a stencil. It's called Machine ATT. But that's about as basic as you get, right? Paint that thing yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Put a number on it. Say, here's a modern one. There's an Elko they added.
Too many numbers on that one.
Yeah, there's one too many numbers, that RS. Whatever. Missing a nose. It's just Oliver Iron Mining. So creating the family look, because I wanted things to look the same. Like I said, the more common you model, the more outstanding you look. They all have the same horn. That's my UP Easter egg. The Union Pacific I grew up with had these 5 chine silver horns. They have the side mount bells on all of them. The beacon, the same antenna, the cab awnings. So everything has a family. So we'll get into the pretty part of the layout. We'll get into senior. I don't know if we're killing on time or whatever, but so I wanted to create believable vignettes based on the prototype, character, not cartoon, using my knowledge that I have from the prototype. I didn't really want all the tropes. I understand the need for those with display layouts and public layouts and things. So, but I wanted to kind of stay away from that as much as I could. And I wanted signage appropriate.
Kitschy just does not make me happy.
No, but I get it for display layouts and such like that. I don't take offense to it. It's just not what I wanted to do with my little basement.
Yeah.
So the scenery, I wanted to sell the story in northern Minnesota. I wanted people to come down here and feel like they're in northern Minnesota when they left, right? And you're looking at this photo, everything up there is pine trees and birch trees, right? Because it all got logged out. And they're like, oh, you should do fall with all the elms and oaks. Well, the elms and oak trees are in people's lawns, right? The northern wilderness, it's kind of like Northern California with how many Douglas fir trees do you need, right? And then there's few man-made items. There's really hardly anything man-made except for the railroad. And everything's a specific color. So creating the look. And so there are some clinics out there. I'll put some links to them that I've made, how to do the trees, how to do the rocks, how we did this, how we did that. And you can see that I firmly believe there's nothing I'm doing that you can't do. Okay? Look at this mess here. This is my wedding cake of foam piled up. You can see the loop. Over the left's going to be my loon pond. The track in the middle, the crazy track, that's a narrow gauge, abandoned narrow gauge line that's hidden in the trees. You have to actually look for that. And the little square there is a burned down square water tower. But that's what it looks like now.
Oh, huh.
Cool.
Yeah. And you can kind of see the logging line and trees and things like that. And down at the bottom, I put in the rail greaser, and there's HO Scale engineering squealers, but just some patience. And so I found this photo of an abandoned logging line. It's a Splitrock Lumber Company. So that's why I added this abandoned logging line in my woods. Narrow gauge ties. I got some code 40 rail for my butt end, made a burned out water tank. And if you've ever worked in code 40 rail, if you've put that down, you put down 10 feet and then realize it's upside down, then you know you're working in code 40 rail. So, but there's trees growing up in the middle of it and things like that. So here's where I learned from work. I said, okay, I got a 2-track diesel facility. I'm going to steal it from work. This is what's in South St. Paul where I work. And that's what I made. So I got to weather it up. And all these, they're not attached, so I can pull these out and work them on my workbench. But I've put them in place and painted them. I think that's a Pico diesel facility. I bought the perfect size. Here's the tunnel. I tried to do, Erie Mining has this Kramer tunnel. You'll note the door. It rolls down in the winter, and they just store engines in there. And then here's my version of it. I said, oh, I got to have that electric door and all the appliances here for DOSA tunnel. And this is what it looks like now. Tie pile is the guy over there. Speeder set off. And you can see the rock with the drill holes in it because it's so hard. And then here's the grade crossing details. I think I'll see if I can get the train to go through here. Here we go. And so you'll see the details. I got the National Forest sign, crossbucks that sort of work, they're being replaced. Actual signage. I used a couple of trucks to hide the road to wall thing. I didn't want to put a photo in there. I got the green mileage sign. And you'll see the back of signs on the other side. So that's just a little scene. That's the only crossing on my layout.
Very well done.
Yeah.
So we'll get through this here. We'll get here minimal signs, and here we go. So National Forest sign, I thought this is going to plant your layout. I love people who plant their layouts that you know where they are. If they got the St. Louis Arch or they got the Golden Gate Bridge, you know where you are. So you'd see these signs. You probably see them in California, probably in all your rail vending. You see redwoods and bigwoods. And I said, well, I got to have one of these. And so I went up there, and my beautiful wife, on one of our trips, I said, hold this tape measure before the park ranger comes by. And actually measured it up and sent that all to Bill Brillinger, and he made this lovely laser cut kit with me. And that's how I got that. And so then I also wanted material storage. And so this is based on where I work. And at work we have concrete, but I use wood ties for the plates, the rail joiners, other rail joiners, rail, point rail, switches. And this is like the track department guys are here. And this is what it looks like, the prototype. So, I've got some access to things like that. Here you can see the point rails, they reuse them. So they just store them up on these above ground so they don't sink into the mud. And they keep frogs. And I've done that. They put frogs up above the ground. And then when I redid the upper level, I pulled out a lot of track, and I said, well, I'm going to leave the switch lead in, because I used to switch loads at the top, and I realized I'm not switching these things twice. But I left the ties and the rail in to simulate an out of service track, and it makes a great scene with weeds and ties and stuff, something that you'd see today. And then here out of service, the track closest to you is out of service, the switch is out, but they still use this track to get to a loading dock and get some parts to the mine. And I can have a little loading dock scene, and I can take that load on and off, and just makes something more, fun to look at. And then I do vignettes like this. So here's tie replacement. You can see they painted the dots on the ties. Nowadays, you'd probably have orange fluorescent. And they've laid out the new tie plates. They've got new ties they threw off the train, more pilot plates. And they're going to slowly start replacing some old rotted ties. But it's just little things like that can go a long way.
Little details like that really add to the believability of a layout. Yeah. I have our friend Mike Osborne in Southern California, who was a conductor brakeman for decades on the SP and then the UP, and his layout is littered with all kinds of stuff like that. And his comment on the layout video, because we did a layout tour of his video, which I'll add a link to later when I watch this again. But his comment was something like, was all that stuff trackside? Yes, it was. I know, because I tripped over it for 30 years.
Exactly. The amount of materials that they throw off to the sides. And I did a little clinic on yards, and I showed everybody, like, if you look at a yard where all the switches are is clean. That's the office, but 30 feet away, there's, that's where the stuff is thrown, where the garbage is, where everything is. But right along that yard lead where they have to line the switches, they want that level and priceless. So yeah, like you said, you trip over this stuff everywhere. In winter, it's worse.
Yeah.
And so this was part of my insanity. I saw Shapeways offered these things. So Canadian geese, I had to make these out of other geese because I didn't get the mini prints ones right away, but he makes beautiful animals. But there was a guy selling turtles and frogs. So I said, well, I'll put some turtles on a log and a rock. And if you look at the lily pads, there's HO scale frogs on there. So this is kind of a fun little scene, because I had a corner, it goes around a corner, and it stuck out. I'm like, well, I'll just put some water in here and do that. Fire danger, you probably see this in California. Everything burns down there. I feel bad for you guys. But
we never see, what's that word in there? Modder. What? Ours is always red.
Yeah. Well, I had Bill make one of these, and it's got the 5 levels, and I can change it. It's really cool. See, there it is. And the thing that says high, I can pull it out and change that.
Yeah, our signs in California say, what's the sign for? We're already on fire.
Yeah. I want a picture of one of those burned out,
that would be fun to put on your layout.
That'd be a meme. How do you know you model California? This right here. You guys have like names for all your fires. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like we have names for our storms. But.
Well, it's not so cool if your house is endangered by it.
No, I don't mean to make light of that, but I mean, it's just, they're so well known that they go, this is this. Same with the earthquakes, this is the Loma Linda one. We don't have that.
Yeah. My house got singed in the last
the Bear one. Is, Smokey the Bear, you're heading that way. The green mileage sign. Who hasn't seen these? John, your travels, you've probably seen 5,000 of these. And this is one, excuse me, this is the one going right out of Two Harbors.
Do you remember when those also had kilometers on them? For a while?
I don't.
Oh yeah.
I try, I go up to Canada quite a bit, and I'm always like, oh, that's a lot of miles. Oh, it's kilometers.
Well, I mean, if it's 90 kilometers and you're doing 90 kilometers per hour, you're still get there in an hour, right?
Yeah, so. Like then I can figure it out. Then I realize I shouldn't be going 90. Do I make my own details? Yeah. This is one I made. This sign, a scratch built. I used a printer to print out the green, created in in one of my Photoshop apps. But that's all scratch built from styrene and things like that. So yeah, I find doing what I model, I have to build a lot of my own. And that's why I'm glad, reason number 937, I don't have a large layout. You know, I can yeah.
Yeah, there's a simple but profound comment right there. You know, people want to do these gigantic layouts, but boy, do you have to work. I mean, that's a full-time job for a long time if you're going to have a massive layout.
Yeah, and then you do something like this on, 1,100 feet and it gets lost.
Yep.
You know, I have one town on my layout, and that was enough. I put the lighting in like 15, 18 buildings. Steve here has lighting all over, and that was enough. If I had to do a city, I think I'd start building ships in a bottle. But
what's cool about the road distance, or not road distance, but the mile sign to the next place, is that can also increase somebody's likelihood for what I call buy-in. Because if you're like, oh, I've seen that sign on the highway where I'm trying to read it there. Silver Bay is 28 miles from here. I've driven past that sign. Now I buy into your layout. I buy into your story. You've set me in the place that you set out to put me in. And that happens to me quite often on the layouts that we go on videotape, where if it's a place that I've been, I can put my finger on I wouldn't put my finger on the layout, but I can point to a place on the layout and say, yeah, I've been there, and now I really like the layout more. So that's going to be, that's one of the things I think a lot of people who do the sort of freelance stuff kind of miss on a lot of times they miss on it. Some people have done it, and it's like, well, I realize it's a fantasy, but I have been in this place, so I understand the flavor of what you're trying to show me here.
Yeah, that's a big thing, selling your story. That's a great point, John. And that's, there's a whole video for you to make there too, because I've looked at your videos and somebody's modeling a layout where I've been. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been to there. I've been that. He did that well. He did that crossing very well.
I did a video that was all about signature scenes. That was with my friend Rob, who was at the time living in Utah. And, he had just this very matter-of-fact approach that was just so pragmatic, and everything that he did was for a reason, and he could explain exactly what and why he did everything. And that just really appeals to me, because one of the things that I have a hard time with, I think really, I guess in life in general, is just random stuff, moving just to move, like move with a purpose, build with a purpose, do things with a purpose, because if you take out the randomness of your action, you'll actually make progress towards something.
Yes.
And so there's something, I think, to be said for that. Now, you have to.
I agree. That's setting a point on the horizon, and you're working towards that point. You'll always have a better line than, oh, this and this and this and this.
Yeah. And
so that's my guiding. This is, like I said, so focused, and everybody goes, you got steam engines, you have this. I'm like, no, my focus is just this layout in northern Minnesota, and this is my little town, and this is what you'd see. And and that, to me, that's the greatest compliment I think person can give me. So I appreciate that from you, Murph, is that this plants the layout. It sells my story very simply by just these little signs.
Sure.
You know where you are. And I've had people on social media posts, I'll get to some of those, but I've had people say, yeah, we were up north and we saw a Splitrock mining train this weekend. Okay, where was it? But they see an ore hauling train going over the top of them, and they don't know, non-real fans, but small layouts with lots of details. You can be more intense, and you can be, like we talked earlier, non-tropish. I don't have to have an antique car parade in my town. I don't have to have the hot rod in my town. In fact, that's the battle I fight with late 60s, is the automobiles, is that I can get every, muscle car known to man, but I try and find a station wagon.
Yeah. Yeah. Because would that muscle car be there?
Yeah.
Where these ore cars are going through these rural, remote places? Probably not.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's blue collar and they'd have their truck out there, and they might be building that car in the garage or something with their kid, but it's just, freelance believability there. So, but yeah, that helps, like I said, helps plant the location. And then this is also working on the fourth dimension. You can see I got a welder. So here's the sound and lighting. And I've got loons and crickets on sound. I've got a scale weight lights. I've got a talking defect detector. We'll show you the crossing flashers we saw. I'll put it in the just plug. I got a Soundtrack sound car hooked up to my yard switcher, so you hear the rails click and clack and squeal. I'm putting in seagulls, and I've got HO Scale engineering squealers. So here's what I've done. This is the city now as you see it. It's my wife. So this is the lighting I put in. And trying to sell my story, I didn't want to put a single bulb in each building and have it glow. And so why this took so long is each one of those buildings has walls and floors. And as I put the lights in there, the LEDs, I also used, Will Sampson told me this, Tamiya colored paint, clear paint, to change the temperature of those woodland scenic LEDs, because they come in, you get warm or cool, right? And to change that to have different lighting as you look at buildings, there's different lighting everywhere. And I've got some set to blink on and off and timers and things like that. And I put different colors and rooms and signs. So I don't think I'll operate at night, but it makes a nice effect, but it's a lot of work. I will tell people that you can get a great effect like this. You know, I'm going to come back and detail the street and things like that, but that's kind of like, okay, here's a fourth dimension, right? And this was really cool. I almost built this. I did sketch build this Ericsson depot. Ericsson was a gas station around here. It was one of the first gas stations that wasn't a service station. It was like the convenience store, right? And holiday stores, I don't know if they have them in California, they took them over. But we'd always stop at the Ericsson store on our way up to the Boundary Waters, and we'd always buy bait there. So I needed a neon sign that said live bait. And
I see it
DVL Design makes neon signs if you're interested. They make hundreds of them, and it's the coolest thing.
So how long did it take? Oh, there it is.
There's the willow tree. There's the loons. If you guys can hear that.
Oh, is that it?
So as you go by, you'll hear the loons in the back. And then that was that willow tree I made. I think Sparky made a willow tree too. Everybody says, how do you make it? And I won't tell people how to make it because I don't wish it on them, but each one of those branches is individually made. So if you want to learn how to do it, here's the scenery. Here's some links. You can go to the NMRA YouTube. I did a wonderful one, scenery built on your workbench, which is what I do now with florists. I have a lot of 10-minute tips on my underbrush and my trees. I work down with speed on some of these. So you look on the Splitrock channel or the NMRX channel. And I did this clinic. I made this fake cover of the magazine. I did that for a clinic. That's only about a 2-foot long photo module. And I show you how to make that. It's basically on a old cardboard box. And the hills out of florist foam and static grass. And then my 2 tree methods for birch and pines and ballastine and things like that. So
nice.
All right, let's see if I get my drain defect detector. Here we go.
Splitrock Mining Detector, milepost 28.6. No defects. Repeat, no defects. Total actual count 9.6. Train speed 2.6. 075. Splitrock detector out.
So that's a little Easter egg. When I was on the road, our first detector we hit was at milepost 28.6. So I put that in there. And the town of Skibo was a little town we found when I was a young teen rail fanning up north. And unfortunately, Boulder Creek Engineering is no more. So I'm hoping somebody picks that up, and we'll see if I can show you. Here's what happens when they find a defect. And this is when we laugh at the guy on the road.
Defect from head train. Stop train. Stop your train. Splitrock mining detector. Stop your train. First, sliding wheel, axle 3, 1, south, rail. Splitrock detector out.
So yeah, we had to do that. And so that's set on a random, like every 500 wheels or something that'll go through. And but I do have a button. They made a little access that I can push a button, and the next train that goes over will get caught. But they had it where when you used to buy these, you got hundreds of words, but if you wanted extra, you could pay for it. That's how I paid for Splitrock mining and all these other things to be in the detector. So just kind of a fun thing.
That's nice. Yeah.
I don't make anybody set the car out or anything. I just they can do that.
Why not?
Well, that's coming up. Right now, I just want people to move the red dirt. Then we'll get to the paint. So here's some of the things. Yeah, it is. It's like, okay, I can't add more on to you. So here's where you can find me. And this is like one of the first articles I wrote. And this got me my NMRAP author certificate. And the dispatcher's office, if you guys operate layouts, they're always looking for good articles and photos to match. It's a wonderful thing. The OPSIG, as John and Murphy, it's the best $10 a year you can spend. You'll meet people, you'll find layouts.
People quite often will ask that question: how do I get into operating sessions? Join OPSIG.
Join OPSIG. That's step one. And then you'll find people, and you get to go eventually to things like Bay Rail and Min Rail and River Rail.
Yeah. And you don't even have to be a member of anything to begin with. You can just join for $10.
No. And the really cool thing, Heath is going through this, and I know he had to leave for his own show, but they started their own like master model operator thing to give people some certificates for going to different layouts and hosting and stuff. So they're having some fun. But yeah, you don't have to join. You have to be a member of the NMRA or any other group. You just join OPSIG, $10 for 4 beautiful e-zines a year, and then people answer your questions.
Yep.
My friend Steve, he's a CSX conductor. He runs the mill, which is the steel mill guys. And I said, well, how about if I write an article on the other end of the steel mill and show you the dirt, And then NMRA magazine had a couple articles. I did that article on out of service tracks. I took some photos of the prototype where I work and how I use them. The British region featured me in their roundhouse. And of course, they spelled my name wrong, which is appropriate. I don't know who spells your name right either, John, so I can't gripe. But nobody ever spells my last name right. I when we got married, this is a true story. Diana's probably in the chat here. The name was spelled wrong on our wedding cake. And I looked at her and said, welcome to the family.
Oh, wow.
I know. So, but yeah, this was quite an honor. The British region has this beautiful magazine. And then, of course, I talked Otto Vondrak. I cornered him and beat him up a few times to publish this. And that was kind of a fun issue. I got some more articles going to him. Another get into dispatchers. I wrote again when I changed my ops. And recently, the Cowcatcher magazine, which is a really neat magazine. I've seen this at train shows, and I met the publisher, and it's a real mix of modeling and prototype. And Michelle Campana writes for this, and also Stan Oika, I think he's still with the BNSF, or he might be a consultant now. But him and I were teenage rail fans together in Wisconsin and Chicago. And I'm like, oh, I know Stan. So
it sounds like a printed version of this channel.
It is.
Prototype stuff.
It absolutely is. It comes out every other month, and they show modeling. They show all the new things. You know, has editorial about what's going on in the hobby and industry, but he also shows, he'll have an article about, you know, what's going on with containers or shipping plastics or new things. So it's really kind of interesting magazine. And so here's some kind of fun things where I've been featured on, and people have used my photos for their advertising. And I don't want anything for this. I just think that it's a compliment, right?
Oh, you can add TSG to that because we used one of your photos for the thumbnail here today.
Well, I saw that one's going on my clinic. That's going to go on the next clinic.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't mind the association, because you know we're kind of shady here.
Yeah, but I still want to track that crowd. So, well, this is a great story. So Athern, the summer, and this might have been back during, I won't say the word, but when everybody was staying home, they had a Prime for Grime contest, and they said, you got to buy one of our cars and then weather it up and send in a picture. And they had a contest on it. So I weathered this up, sent it in. They used it on their live stream. Here they used it in their advertising, but I didn't win.
What?
So I didn't even take the first 3 places. I'm like,
oh, that's bogus, man. Look, there's a W in your middle initial. That stands for what? How could they use this and then not? Okay, hey, whatever. I'm not gonna ask.
So it was Jim and Tony Cook, and I'm like, I'll consider this a win. Is that the guy who won? They never used his picture except to show who won, and they used mine in advertising. So I thought that was kind of funny. Model Railroad News, even Tony Cook used the same photo.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was kind of cool. Mini Prince, Bernard was on. He let me on his show. Came on there. You can see I'm drinking a beverage with him, a good Canadian Labatt's there. And
sure, you got to have the beer with Bernard.
Bernard, you have to have a beverage with him. But he's a great ambassador to the hobby, like you are, and everybody else. That Bernard.
Bernard's one of my favorite guys.
Yep. I'd sit and talk with him for hours, and it wouldn't even be about trains. I would just.
Yep. He's that guy.
Soundtracks. I talked to them about that I did an install or something, so they featured my install video on doing this. Thought that was pretty cool. RMC Magazine took one of my photos, and to pump up their issue coming out. And Model Railroad Hobbyist got featured on there. Some of the best of theirs, how to install them. I like their forums. And then, so video promotions. So the OpSig promoted this, and then the steel mill modeling. I did a thing on switching some of the mines on how I do the mine runs. Woodland Scenics. Use my tunnel scene that, I use a lot of Woodland Scenics products all over my layout. And they use me for their Monday motivation. And then also many of the Facebook groups and freelance and iron ore modeling and the NMRA have used that too. So we talked about telling a good story. So back when I was on the app called Twitter, before it turned into
something else,
Splitrock Mining was on there. And so I attracted people to follow me. And this is how you know you have a good story, when people who sell railway products are hitting you up. These are people who follow me, okay? So we got railroad products, mining contractors followed me, the BCM group. Surveyor of mining claims, GRE industry follows me. You can see the follow me sign. Okay. Blasting equipment guys followed me. So I think I'm getting my point across, right? The mining machinery, Churchill Marine Services, advertiser dealers of mining, hey, we're going to follow this Splitrock mining guy. And computer data, clean data drips for data for the mining sector. Railway components, like I showed earlier. Mining consulting firms followed me. And then this one here was like, yes, Gabe goes, I just noticed this is a model. And the greatest one of all time, I got 2 of them. And I think because they were DMs and I couldn't save it, you can only go so far back on that Twitter app and save it. But I swear this is true. I've had two people write to me to apply for jobs.
I've had a lot of job applications. Well, not applications, but requests over the years.
Yeah. I had a guy play, he said he could drive a truck. And I wrote back to him, I said, how tall are you? So I was just like, guys, you know.
Yeah,
so then I get questions like this. So you're modeling the entire split rock or a portion of the larger system. So I think my story is working, you know, if I'm not modeling it. And so here's some fun I have with my Easter eggs, a couple things. So you can see I have this place called Moe's. It's a midnight ballerina place. And I changed the sign on there. And I always put the names of my operators' wives on there. And no one's ever noticed. I've always had to point it out to them to change it. So I changed it for our show today to put in. So Sydney, get a screenshot of this. So.
Oh, okay. Now I understand why you were asking that question. Because I'm looking at it going, wait a minute. I have an op. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, Murph, if you came over, this would be on there and you can take a picture. Once I point it out, everybody takes
and for your health, I wouldn't take the picture because my wife knows karate.
Everybody takes a picture because this is the old building. I got a new Moe's now, but that sign
that's great.
Would slide in and out. And so every time I had an up session, I would change it and to see if they notice for the current entertainers, you know. And then I also have a Bigfoot. I actually got a better Bigfoot than now. And since I have florist foam scenery, I drilled a hole and put a pin in one of his foot.
Right.
And the rule is if you find him, you can move him.
Right.
So most of the time I have no idea where he is. I don't know where he is now because I think the granddaughter moved him around. I haven't found him in a month. So there's a Sasquatch somewhere on my layout, but I told that's my little trope. I said, if you find him, you get to move him, because that was always the joke. Is like I'd move him and people say I found him.
Maybe check eBay.
It might be on eBay. That's probably somebody. It's probably in someone else's layout. So the NMR Achievement Program, I created my layout, and it allowed me to achieve my MMR, what I call organically. And I tell this to people who are building their layouts. I'm like, why not go through these steps? It'll help improve it. It helped me when I did my electrical work because I had to follow all these things. This is John Hotvet and David Hamilton. They're evaluating my layout for scenery, which was the 7th one. Mm-hmm. And so that allowed me to get my MMR. And it helped everything in there. Everybody's like, oh, you're just jumping through hoops. I said, well, to a point. But I know so many people that basically are MMRs. They just got to fill out the paperwork, and I would help them. But the layout...
I have a friend that out here who said, because I asked him about that. I said, all you have to probably do is fill out some paperwork because he has a great layout. And he said to me, he says, I don't need an MMR to know I have an FCL.
Right.
Like, what's an FCL? He says, an effing cool layout.
Yeah.
And you can imagine what the effing stands for.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's all where you are, and to me, it was a challenge. It helped motivate me. We talked about that
right.
Instance, and I'm like, well, I got to get a scenery certificate. I better start putting some trees on this plywood here, and the electrical.
Well, I like your comment about. Well, I was doing the car thing, and so I needed some maintenance of way cars anyway, and I'm like, well, that's actually cool. I've seen people like do things that have no relation to the railroad they're doing, and you're kind of like, that seems like an awful lot of effort to not actually have something for your own layout out of, or something that you'd actually end up using. So that was a nice observance.
Yeah, I think the other cars that I made I'd ask people like, what do you want on your layout? And they're like, well, I'm looking for this. I said, well, let me make that. Let me get it evaluated, then you can have it, you know.
Right.
And you know, that's part of the program, I think, is just going through it that way. So, all right. See if anybody has any questions. I thought this far side thing was appropriate there. And question in the back. So.
What have we been looking at, Tom?
I know. What is it? So,
I have a question. I'd like to apply for a job.
Yeah. How tall are you? So, yeah, you can.
So are these knobs your magnet raising and lowering things, or what?
Some are.
Okay.
Most of those are my switches. All of my switches are thrown by manual throws. I wish I could show you, demonstrate it. My switch throws cost probably less than $4 each, and it's a double pole, double throw switch. I can stop this share. We can just chat here because I know we're.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's just take it out. Whoa, what happened?
Oh, hey, Sydney. It's a thing I learned from another model. Like I said, one of my mentors, if you steal from me, you've stolen twice. And I learned from Jeff Otto about a corner protector cut down with a double pole, double throw switch and a pull rod. And then you send up 2 brass wires to the switch and it works perfectly.
Right.
And I would love tortoises, but that's right now beyond me. And I think with tortoises and somebody else, you need like 2 people, somebody to hold it straight, and then you screw it in. And so I'm working towards that.
Actually, I have 3D printed like fixtures that I use in order to install tortoises because I generally don't have another person around. And they line everything up so they come in at the right point.
So yeah, when you're done with those, send one my way.
Okay, I should do that.
That's a battle under the layout. That's my age, it's to get under there.
Oh yeah, and every time you think you have it lined up, something happens and you drop the tortoise, it falls down, and then you get to try to realign the wire again.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, one of my friends had begun work on this thing, and I was like, wait a minute, and I made a couple. You got to steal the idea, and then if you can, you make it even a little bit better. And so I made mine so it indexed, so you'd actually end up with a perpendicular throw to it as well. Yeah, because that's the other thing. You can squidgy your tortoise so that it's throwing this way, and the bar wants to go this way, and you're cutting across. So, you really want to make sure that it's moving correctly. And so, yeah, it's one of the. I've really got to get this 3D print design up on the internet somewhere so people can try it out.
Yeah, because I would like mine to be. I wanted mine to actuate from the throttle, Digitrax. So my earlier problem, I kept saying everybody's in the kitchen, right, John? We all end up in and I was like, well, the road guy coming in could line the 2 switches he needs and not wade into the fray. He could stand back. She could stand back and push a button there or some remote panel and not have to go in and fight with the throw rods and the 20 other, whatever word you use, Murph, of larger than life model routers,
right.
Yeah,
I end up using GMRI for controlling all of my mainline turnouts.
Okay.
And not that there are that many. I mean, my layout's moderate size, but it's only got, 3 sidings along the way and 1 junction along there. So there aren't that many mainline turnouts. But with Y throttle and GMRI, you can actually go into the Y throttle and turn a particular turnout at a place just on your phone. And I just find that handy. It's made me lazy, though. I don't put buttons on the side of my layout. And I really need to do that because it'd be easier. And I use hand throws too. I prefer for local switching, using like the RICS switches and that kind of stuff. It feels more like you're there rather than looking up and down at panels all the time. So
I see Heath is showing about his. Heath has one of the most technology-driven layouts this side of the Silicon Valley lines, and it's amazing. That's his forte. Some of these people, I'm very jealous of them. Mine's kind of doing scenery and weathering and stuff like that. But
right.
Yeah,
but I do agree with little local switching where you do feel, more hands-on.
I think I could get away with doing electronics if I actually put the button next to the turnout somehow. But then you have the ugliness of a button where a throw should be. Not that the Rix things are to scale or anything, but they're a little bit more passable if you weather them up and paint them. I like on Dave Lovelace's layout, he weathers the actual Rix throw. It's a Rix throw, isn't it? Yeah. And then he paints one side red and the other side green, and it's like, okay,
wow.
I get it now.
Wow.
So it works great. Yeah.
Simplicity. It's easy to understand. If it's red, it's thrown, right? Diverging. And if it's green, it's normal. It's wonderful. I mean, I like the hand throw switches. I don't like tortoises and buttons and all that stuff. I mean, it's great if you have them and if they work properly all the time, it's great.
If you're gonna have a dispatch control layout with through trains and that kind of stuff,
then you need it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that as an operator, I prefer the simplicity of, oh, is it thrown? Yes. Is it not thrown? No. So you just reach down and do it.
No, I agree. I just wanted the buttons for a backup system if the throttle didn't go.
Don't get me wrong, Tom. I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just saying as an operator, what I like. That's all.
That's what I'm just too. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here soaking in your ideas and probably stealing many of them in the long run.
Yes. Oh, that's what we're here for. I see Ron, trade-off. It's money versus thrift too. What's a caboose ground versus the tortoise and then the decoder and then the hook.
That's the one, yeah.
And Heath will tell you that right there. So, but yeah, I think it's interesting. And John, you guys go to so many layouts. I just love how all of us modelers take a different approach to lining a turnout to car forwarding systems. I mean, and then talk about line of turn. I want to give you credit too. I think you did the video of somebody's Southern Pacific, UP Southern California layout. He was a former SP employee.
Yeah,
and he talked about the Gemco yard. And he said the greatest thing, and I wish Union Pacific would have adopted this, where if a switch stand was green and yellow, if it was yellow, you could leave it. But if it was green and red, meant when you're done, you have to line it back to green and lock it. I'm like, that
makes sense.
Simplicity.
That total sense. I was like, wow, the Southern Pacific was really good about that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to this whole idea of railroads. I think are the kind of, I guess, creature or business that they want things as simple and as quick and as easy and as no effort as possible. So, I'll go to someone's layout and it's like, oh, look, I included a time saver. It's like, well, I don't know why you did that, because no railroad would ever build that on because it's not something that they would do. They would just make it as simple and elegant as possible. And I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying to me, it's just like, okay, well, this is not a prototype layout if you put the time saver in it someplace. Like, well, I just wanted it. It's like, well, you can do whatever you want. It's your layout, but just know that, real railroads would never do that.
Yeah, you have to realize what I've come to realize is billion-dollar companies, railroads, refineries, mining, whatever, are the cheapest companies on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all worked for them, and we all understand whatever, this and this is like, wow, look at this really great airline. Why are all their trucks 12 years old? Why are all this?
Yeah, or why are they all painted the same?
Why are they all? Yeah, why is that door different? Why is it so? If you apply that to your layout, and especially like me, if you're trying to sell a freelance story, right? The more prototype things I can stick into it, the vignettes, the scene, the engines, the cars. Like John said, the places, the better that story sells. I don't have to sell you the story of the Union Pacific, going over, Sherman Hill, but I have to sell you this.
Something else, right. I think, Tom, that really works for yours is that industrial look and the simplicity of the paint scheme. It looks like a real, mining or hauling railroad. That's what I would expect, It's just yellow and black. Everything is allowed to get dirty because it's working equipment and it just works. It looks right. It's very plausible. That's what I'm trying to say. So
thank you. That's a perfect compliment. It's
intended as such. The believability is definitely there. I mean, the pictures, like for me, looking at pictures that people take, and I'm not criticizing or putting anybody down, but you can always tell if you can usually tell very quickly if it's a model or not. Just certain things don't look right. I don't know if it's the scale of the handrails or the something's wrong with the MU cables or the hose or whatever. Now where was I going with that? But I guess it's the level of plausibility, really.
Yes.
Actually, the comment about your photo of 4014 with the lash up going across there, and Tom, you said it looks like a model.
Yeah.
Every engine was absolutely spotlessly clean, and even the pickup truck at the bottom of that picture was clean. And I was like, my gosh, it does look like a model. Look at that.
I guess, but the steam would not scale down. So that would have had to have been like super good AI or something.
Well, yeah, AI would do that. Of course, AI wouldn't know where to have the steam starting off. It looks like, there's a little bit of exhaust coming out of the Abraham Lincoln there.
Maybe. I don't think it is. I think that's just steam wafting down. See how it's
really?
kind of you can see it's kind of a curled plume.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to bore everybody with it. I could show you the actual drone shot of this, and you can see it probably is a piece of steam that's curling down.
But I mean, really, look at that, John. They didn't bother to weather the 4014 at all. This brand new engine coming out there, and this perfectly just out of the car wash pickup truck at the bottom. And there's no garbage strewn along the right of way there. What's going on with that?
we're probably far enough away that you're just not seeing that. But I want to tell you, it's funny that you should mention this idea that it looks like it wasn't weathered, because in Portola they actually washed it down. I got pictures of this guy. This guy who's doing this is John Stravino. This is someone that we know and someone who actually watches this show. This is her other half. And I took a bunch of pictures of him working and I sent them to her. Actually, Jennifer Howell, she's been a guest co-host on the show before.
Oh, many times.
I said, look, Jen, he actually does work on these trips. He's up there sweating his butt off, cleaning with the brush. They went across the entire locomotive, and that's a lot of work.
Lowe's should pay him for that product placement. That's pretty good.
Yeah, no kidding. I just noticed that. Yeah.
Holy cow.
I should have photoshopped it out because they're not sponsoring this show.
Yeah. Put some Patreon's name on there. But yeah, I was going to say, the original photo we said looked like a model. That was right after the unboxing. They put it on there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. This was when now that's interesting. I see. I have to take the other one away before I can show this one. Yeah. This was when it was first put on the layout. Yeah. But
coming out of it.
Yeah, this is all their heritage fleet stuff too. So they want, it's PR, so they want to keep this clean. That's one of those things that we sometimes talk about, is the difference between railroads a long time ago and railroads now, is that they had these box cars, and the railroads were advertising themselves just by being out there, and they took a lot of pride in that stuff. And I don't know that we really do that the same way anymore. Because
another thing that Tom mentioned, all the heritage units. Yeah, I have all the UP heritage units, and I keep looking around. I've got to have more yellow hoods somewhere. Where are they?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good.
But yeah, that's everybody models that. It's one of the things you said about modeling, you can tell right away, is so many people will not weather their steam engines. And I just finished weathering up a beautiful Rapido D10, a 460 for my friend Greg, the Canadian Pacific one. And I weathered, I didn't make it look like a rust bucket because they're working engines.
Right.
Got the dust and this and the alkaline water and everything on there, and made some videos, and people are like, oh my God, you know, because that's one of the things people like. You, John, you said in many of your shows when you go to train shows and they're selling things, you're like, well, look, here's the table of $5 boxcars. You can, these are great for running on your layouts till you go get the $60 one. And they're also great to practice your weathering.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
And you preach that so well, and I preach that, but I still keep running into people and like, well, they have this $60, $80 car. I don't want to weather. I'm like, well, go buy that $5 Tyco that's the same color and go at it.
Yeah.
And practice.
Or
well, I don't want to spend bucks on that.
Yeah. Better yet, buy a few of them so that you really feel comfortable by the time it's time to do it. So, or
a spray can the same color. Well, that's terrible. All right, let's try again.
I guess I could work. Yeah. Didn't even think about that. Repainting your stuff. Why not?
So I always tell people that. I'm glad you do that in your videos, that like these cars serve two purposes. You know, you could, if they got metal wheels, you can take the metal wheels out and put them on something worthwhile, weather them.
Right.
You know,
I just had Heath prompting me to plug the Patreon thing.
That on there.
So yeah, well, we should probably wrap this up. We've actually gone much longer than we usually do, but what's funny is, as with any interesting conversation, I feel like I could keep going, except I gotta eat.
Yeah, we don't need the 4-hour YouTube videos either. So,
well, you know, we have an ongoing joke with Sparky. I once did, I think it was me. Oh, that's nice. I came on, it was on StreamYard, and it was when Sparky first learned about StreamYard, and he turned me on to it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let's try it and see what happens. Or let's test it, you know? So I turned it on, and something like 4 hours and 19 minutes later, we ended up ending the stream. And I think it was 4:19. It's something like that. And so we have an ongoing thing about epic shows or lengths of shows. I think he's beat my record at least once now.
Oh, yeah. I remember those during that certain session of America, but these 4-hour, 5-hour shows, and we all had them. Oh.
Yeah, I think it happened. I'm pretty sure that was all just prior to the pandemic. So if I remember right, though my brain's kind of foggy though from having it COVID. So yeah. Anyway,
well, I was there. Yeah, but I mean, like that's the whole thing with the videos too, is just the editing. You know, to make an hour long, you should say, no, John, how many hours do you have to edit this? But let's end it. Let's go by. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, your questions, comments.
Murph's like, yes, I can finally go eat.
Murph can go eat. John, go eat.
We'll do that.
Thanks a bunch, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Patreon, hit that up.
Wow. I mean, I don't even need to close the show. I don't have to close it, do I?
Turn down the music, John.
Turn on the music? Oh, I gotta
turn on the music.
Murph's like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
That's right.
Hi, guys. Thanks again, and thank you everybody for watching.